Hello, a very good morning. It's 7 o'clock. This is Mornings on Sky News with me, Anna Jones. Our headlines. Plunged into darkness, we'll bring you all the best moments from last night's once-in-a-generation solar eclipse. And after the scramble for those coveted glasses, get the reaction from those who had the best spots in Britain for the show. We report from the city at the heart of Sudan's devastating conflict and look at what role the UK is playing. A-level results day for hundreds of thousands of students today will be live at colleges for the moment of truth. And Caroline Levitt, the White House press secretary Donald Trump described as having machine gun lips, leaves her role. Hello, very good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to start the show this morning with some breaking news on the health of the economy. Paul Kelso is here. This news literally dropping as we speak. So
it is.
What can you tell us?
And it's encouraging news. Gross domestic product. It's the sum total of everything produced in the economy. We have numbers today for June, and that gives us the numbers as well for the second quarter of the year, April to June, and the economy grew by 0.4%. That is in line with expectations, but it is still quite positive. It comes after growth in the first quarter of the year of 0.6%, so on track to certainly exceed 1% for the year. June's monthly data, which we don't look at quite as closely monthly because it can fluctuate, but was very positive, 0.3%. The ONS is saying, it's the Office for National Statistics that gives us this data, the services sector, which is the biggest part of the economy, grew by half a percentage point. Production was flat, but construction was up 0.3%. Construction sector has been in really tough shape, having a really tough time for a long time. So some improvement there is welcome. It is quarterly figures, and we would normally expect to hear from the Chancellor when we get quarterly figures, something of a protocol that every 3 months we hear from. We won't be hearing from John Healey today, but this is a little bit of positive news he can bank before he starts to set out his plans for the budget, which is one area of this new government where we really have very little visibility on what Andy Burnham and Healey's plan is. But this is some resilience in the economy. Think of all this against the backdrop of the war in Iran, the rising energy prices. Looks like British businesses and consumers have perhaps got a little more in the tank than you might think.
Yeah, even though the figures are still pretty low, aren't they? They're less than 1%, but
indeed, but
if you positive territories.
Indeed, and the forecast would take this up to 1.5% perhaps in the year. 2% is the goal every government wants to get to. Hasn't been there for some time, but this is a bright start for a new Chancellor.
Paul, thanks very much indeed. Thank you. So, millions of solar sightseers were drawn to a once-in-a-generation eclipse last night. The UK's best vantage points saw as much as 96% of the sun shielded by the moon. Well, Dan Whitehead was in Cornwall and has this report.
While the sun still shone, thousands filled Fistral Beach. For families and friends, this was a magical moment. The anticipation, and then a golden shadow as 96% of the sun disappeared.
I mean, it's incredible. I have literally got goosebumps. What a feeling. It's dark, it's eerie, it's definitely got a bit cooler. A huge eruption of applause, a real feeling that everyone has experienced this magical moment together.
I can't quite believe what you see sometimes. It's the freak of nature, just unbelievable, absolutely amazing.
It was emotional.
Very emotional, because we'll never see it again. Just absolutely fantastic.
It was really cool. I loved it.
What did you notice about it?
I noticed that it got all darker, and then now there's still some shadows of it, and all the birds went a bit, fast. I think they got a bit scared.
I think what's special is being here with all of these, and it's something that the kids are going to remember and we're going to remember for a lifetime. I think that's what makes it really special.
For the last 5 years, we've got a group from Darts, and we meet here every Thursday to watch the sunset. We call it Prosecco Thursday. That was our drink of choice. We have changed over the years. So this week I put the WhatsApp group and I said we're changing it to Wednesday, partial eclipse of the sun.
Was it worth it?
It bloody well was.
what a moment that was. What did you think?
Really emotional when everyone started clapping. And then everyone watching through their glasses, and just to see the amount of people here was amazing.
It just felt special, just felt like a moment. I know I'm not going to have it again now to 2009. There's a good chance I'm probably not going to be here. So to experience it with the family, with the kids and everything like that, just taking it all in.
As the sun re-emerged, the eclipse party continued. Solar cocktails and live music went into the night. It's been 27 years since the UK experienced a partial solar eclipse like this. It'll be 2081, 55 years away, before we get it again. This was a very rare celestial moment in time. Dan Whitehead, Sky News in Newquay, Cornwall.
Well, as you might imagine, this has captured the imagination of newspaper editors. So look at those front pages. The Eye has called the eclipse once in a generation. The greatest show on earth is the Telegraph's headline. The Times called it the darkest hour, and The Sun simply says the moon. Do stay with us, because later on this hour we're going to have our news review with political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, as well as someone who travelled to northern Spain to get the total eclipse. So lots more on the eclipse and the papers a little bit later on. Now, the war in Sudan has entered its 4th year with no signs of abating. The Sudanese armed forces, backed by Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran and Qatar, are locked in conflict with the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, who are supported by the UAE. Well, the UAE denies that claim. Tens of thousands have been killed, with the real death toll unknown, but thought to be far higher. An estimated 15 million people have been displaced. More than 25 million face acute food shortages and are in need of urgent humanitarian assistance. So this is how Sudan looks now. The Sudanese army in green holding most of the eastern part of the country, including the capital Khartoum and major cities along the Nile corridor and the Red Sea coast. Yellow towards the west is RSF territory. Well, the state of North Kordofan is now at the heart of the conflict. The SAF recently captured the strategic city of Bara, secured the crucial nearly 300-mile highway and ended a 2-year siege of the state capital, El Obeid. In response, the RSF launched counteroffensives in western Sudan. Well, Sky's Africa correspondent, Yousra El-Brageo, travelled to El Obeid, where residents face power blackouts, food and water shortages and a constant fear of drone attacks.
Fuel tankers and trucks bombed into blackened steel, all facing the same destination. These are signs of the suffocation survived by the city that sits at the end of this road. This is the last stretch of road before we get to El Obeid, and there is a complete shift in the comfort level. We're seeing very few cars on the road, very few people, because even though this is a key supply route for the army, the RSF are known to operate a surveillance drone that patrols this territory and launches missiles at military vehicles, fuel tankers, and even trucks carrying aid. El Obeid has overcome the longest ground siege of Sudan's war and evaded capture by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, fighting the military for territorial control. The RSF circle around the city has been halved by army advancements for now, but they still maintain positions to the west and the south and launch attacks from above. Their drones have come for this vital infrastructure, the power station transformers that supply El Obeid with electricity. But even in the darkness of power outages, babies are born, and doctors are committed to performing the operations that are needed.
Well, Yousra joins me now from Port Sudan. Very good morning to you, Yousra. So what does what you've seen tell us about the state of the war in Sudan, do you think?
Well, what we've learned is that every lull in fighting is a precursor for more violence. And as we stand here in Port Sudan, we've just seen 8 columns of smoke that we suspect could be drone strikes. We're waiting to hear more. But as we stand here, there is a drone reported in the capital that is striking locations. This would be a 2-day assault that started yesterday. As we drove northeast, we left a trail of drone strikes behind us on the capital in the city of Adbara, where we were stationed, and in Al Ubaid, where we had been stationed for a week. Now, Al Ubaid is at the center of the war. People are experiencing a constant fear of drone strikes, but also they are very scared of a ground offensive as the RSF pushes back from the army's advancement to the west. This is a city that is a gateway from the center of the country to the west, and where Darfur is and where the Kordofan state is, all up to the border of Chad, Libya, and the Central African Republic. The people there are in a state. They've been exhausted by this war. They've come out from the longest ground siege of this war. But there's also, we found, a complete disconnect between the international community and the reality on the ground. As the UK, the US, and the UN sounded alarms around the safety of Al-Fashir, Al-Ubaid, comparing it to the city of Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur, that experienced what the UN described as the hallmarks of genocide at the hands of the Rapid Support Forces, Al-Ubaid had just started to emerge from its siege. But it still requires help. It still requires intervention. And the UK and the US stand accused of covering for the UAE, that is the main backer of the Rapid Support Forces. There is a sense that this war is not only ignored, but it's hidden. It is absolutely not forgotten to the people here in Sudan. It's also not forgotten by the parties that benefit from the war here in Sudan. And as the people in Al Ubaid experience another barrage of drone strikes, 8 drones hit Al Ubaid yesterday morning, they feel forsaken, but they also seek comfort in the fact that they have held it together and will continue to take care of each other.
Yusra, thanks very much indeed. Really important reporting. Thanks very much indeed. Now here, temperatures are expected to rise to as high as 37 degrees in the south of Britain today, sparking concerns about further wildfires. The Prime Minister says he's considering issuing a ban on disposable barbecues due to that risk.
The framework restricting the retail sale of those disposable barbecues is being extended. And now I would ask all retailers, big and small, to adhere to that framework. Longer term, we will look at whether a temporary ban in the summer months is justified. But for now, we are calling on all retailers to observe that ban particularly.
Well, meanwhile, the Royal College of Nursing has warned that nurses are collapsing at work due to the heat. They've described the conditions in hospitals as not fit for humans. So let's bring in Graham for a bit more on this. So they are warning that it's bad for nurses, and I think they say they're concerned about patients as well, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of these wards are reportedly going above 30 degrees, sometimes pushing into 36, 37 degrees. Potentially, they're describing, as you said, nurses collapsing and potentially then going on to be treated by the very teams that they are meant to be working alongside. There are also examples, they say, of nurses who are dripping with sweat from head to toe, especially when wearing PPE. That's obviously making them reticent to wear it as well. They've reported pregnant nurses saying it was impacted their health, while 2 nurses with pre-existing conditions reported to the Royal College of Nurses that they had seizures due to the excessive heat. And of course, those conditions with nurses under such stress as well aren't never going to be good for patients. No. The Royal College of Nurses is saying that buildings are in a bad state of repair. They are blaming poor aircon, broken aircon, no aircon, outdated design, poor ventilation. They're saying that these are issues that need to be fixed. They say that trusts are currently sometimes having to make decisions between winterproofing a building, so making it leak-proof, providing better insulation, or summer-proofing, where that insulation actually becomes a bit of an enemy. So again, they're asking for help to fix these issues. The Health and Social Care Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has reacted. She said staff do a remarkable job to respond to rising A&E attendances and ambulance call-outs, heat problems amongst the elderly and difficult working conditions. Obviously, there's no extra money or anything like that on the table, but she is new to the role, so we'll have to see how she deals with ongoing challenges like this.
Absolutely. Graham, thanks very much indeed. Well, the hot weather comes with another stark warning over the risks posed by cooling off in open water. The mother of a heatwave drowning victim has told Sky News she wants to see improved safety at open water sites. 16-year-old Mohammed Seko drowned in a lake in South Yorkshire during a heatwave in May. His mother, Kadi Cisse, was speaking to Katie Barnfield.
Daddy, go, 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 go. I cry every day. I miss him every day. He's my son that who really love me so much and care about me so much. If I say so much, so much.
A few months ago, Kadi Cisse's life changed forever. On the scorching Maybank holiday, her son, Mohamed Seka, had gone to Rother Valley Country Park with some friends. They got into the water, but Mohamed did not come out.
When the police came in and knocked the door, she said to me, the friend said, Mohamed was last seen in the water, but he was not struggling. I tell the police officer to take me to the lake. I was there that night, and when it started to get dark, they told me it's getting dark, maybe you should go home. If we cannot find him today, we'll continue to search for him tomorrow. I said, I'm not going home. I can't go home, my child is in the water. And when they find him, he said to me, Mohamed, don't go deep. He don't disobey you. We are very sorry.
Just weeks before he died, Mohamed bought him and his mum matching bracelets for her birthday. In her card, he wrote, I don't say this enough, but I love you.
I go through pain every day, and I go through pain every night. And I am a mother. You have a good relationship, and one day, just something like this, take your child away from you. It's hard, and I don't wish this to happen to anybody. Anybody in this life. I don't want.
Mohamed was one of at least 15 people who drowned during the heatwave in May. Many of them were teenagers like him. Kadi says Mohamed was able to swim, but where he drowned, the water depth suddenly dropped. She now wants more people to understand how dangerous open water can be.
I think it's very important for people to keep in their mind. You can't tell and you can't see that lake, what is down there. You don't trust that lake. It can happen to any child. It can happen to any adult.
Mohamed wanted to study to become a doctor and dreamed of saving other people's lives.
What happened to Mohamed should not happen to anybody. And I am happy to speak because Mohamed will be happy for me to save someone's child. Those who have more life ahead, they want to achieve their goals like Mohamed. He wants to achieve his goals. I go too far with him. Sorry.
For Kadi, the pain of losing Mohamed will never go away. But by talking about what happened, she hopes she can spare other families from feeling it too. Katie Barnfield, Sky News in Rotherham.
Stay with us. It's a results day for hundreds of thousands of students. We're going to be talking to Education Minister Jackie Smith after the break.
hear that whistle and that crunch. We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury.
I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul.
Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides and it's moving this way.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us?
Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office.
Here it is.
First off, just the scale of what we're looking at.
Our data shows it's been happening. Question is why it hasn't been stopped.
So the UK is enduring its fifth heat wave of the summer, which is on track to be the hottest on record, which won't surprise anybody. Temperatures are expected to rise as high as 37 degrees in the south of the UK today. So let's get a few details with Sky meteorologist Kirsty McCabe. Morning to you, Kirsty. It's going to be another scorcher, isn't it?
Good morning. It is indeed widely across the country. We've seen temperatures creeping up again this week, and it looks as though the peak of the heat is going to be happening through today. So we are looking at temperatures possibly in excess of 38 Celsius. To put it in context, the highest we've seen so far this year is 38 degrees. That was back in that really humid heat wave we have had at the end of June. The August temperature record for the UK is 38.5. There's about a 20% chance we could break that record today. Today, though, is likely to be the peak of this hot spell. Temperatures will start to tail off as we go into the weekend, but still looking into the mid to high 20s. So we're still continuing with the rather hot weather for at least the next few days. It is a little bit humid feeling for some of us today. There is that amber heat warning in place, and that's mainly across eastern parts of England. So it's still going to be another hot one today, but cooling off for the weekend, and sadly no significant rain until we get possibly, I've heard, until October.
Oh my goodness, that is a long wait. Kirsty, thanks very much indeed. So we were telling you that it's results day, of course, for thousands of students. We've got A-level results, T-level results, B-Tech results out for much of the country, England, Wales and Northern Ireland. We can speak now to Baroness Jackie Smith, Minister for Skills, who joins me this morning. Very good morning to you, Jackie Smith. Thanks for talking to us. So a really big day for students. Can we expect a good set of results, do you think?
Yeah, it's a very big and slightly nerve-wracking day, as you say, for students. And I think the first thing to say is enormous congratulations to those people who'll be getting their results today, and to the families and the teachers who will have supported them to get to this point. I mean, I think we're going to see, obviously the detail of the results comes later, but I think we're going to see, for example, more students taking technical qualifications, T-levels, level 3. We've seen big increases in students taking maths, more young people doing construction qualifications, which are obviously really important for the future of the country. But the important point is, whatever people's results today, they will be opening up a whole range of different opportunities and doorways to the future, whether that's into our world-leading higher education sector, whether or not that's onto an apprenticeship, into work with training. And so enormous congratulations to all of those getting their results today.
Absolutely, and good luck getting through the nerves as well. As you say, lots of different options for the future direction that these students will take. But for those who are expecting A-level results and want to go to university, there's been a 10% drop in the number of international students at British universities, in part because of visa changes. So the hope is that makes it easier for some British students, I guess, to get in, the hope for them at least. But what does that say about the viability of our universities, who are already struggling to survive?
Well, what we've seen in terms of university applications is an increase in applications, and I think therefore an increase in acceptances. So that is more young people able to benefit from our brilliant universities. And there have been some tough financial challenges for the higher education sector, not least because the last government froze the main source of their income through tuition fees over several years. We took the decision to increase that and to maintain it over the coming years, which is £6 billion worth of additional investment over the next 5 years into our universities. And we will work really hard alongside them to make sure that they maintain this really crucial role in our country and, in fact, internationally, providing cutting-edge research, enabling people to get the very best teaching and opportunities for the future. We're very fortunate to have the higher education sector that we've got, and many students will benefit from it. But for some, it won't be the right route, and that's why what we're also determined to do is to make sure that there are more opportunities for young people who perhaps learn better practically, who want different ways of learning the sorts of skills that employers are looking for. That's why we'll introduce new vocational level qualifications next year, and it's why we've got the opportunity now to work really closely alongside local mayors and others in terms of to make sure that even from the age of 14, young people have got a technical route that enables them to develop the skills that perhaps they learn best and that local employers and industries need.
Yeah, and that focus on vocational qualifications has been a real feature of Andy Burnham's government to date. He's talked about the days of a school system configured entirely around the university route will be brought to an end. But that has caused some concern amongst universities, hasn't it? The Chief Executive of Universities UK she said that she's concerned that people talking universities down could put people from less advantaged backgrounds off. And she's saying to students today, don't let politicians make your decision for you. What would you say to her?
Well, politicians, she's absolutely right. Of course, politicians shouldn't make decisions for students, but they should make sure that the different options that students may well want to follow are there for them. Look, I just spent a considerable period of time talking up, actually, our universities. It is a world-leading sector of which we're very proud. But the point is, whilst lots of young people will flourish by going to university, there are lots that learn in a different way, want to find a different route. And the problem is that for those students, that hasn't always been there for them. That's why the fact that there are more young people now doing T-levels is a good sign. That's why we're introducing new high-quality qualifications in that vocational area from next year. It's why we'll look from the age of 14 to enable young people to be able to focus on that more practical learning, those applied skills. We need higher skills across the board, whether or not people are going to university or they're taking a different route, perhaps through apprenticeships. I think this is a win-win. I don't fear that somehow or another parts of the country or individuals will be losing out. Every young person needs to have that range of choices that they can then decide for themselves what best suits them.
Universities are also concerned that students might be put off attending because of the cost of student loans. Lucy Powell, Education Secretary, of course, has said that the issue is very much at the top of her in-tray. She's highlighted the repayment threshold and said she'd look at the interest rate, which she has called egregious. Can we expect changes? And if so, when?
Well, the first thing to say is that students who are making decisions today about going into university will not be on that, what we call Plan 2 student loan system, a system that we inherited from the last government. We wouldn't have designed it like that. And for those who are repaying their student loans, so into their 20s and 30s, yeah, I do understand the pressure that they are feeling, the concern about interest rates. That's part of the reason why this year we have put a cap on what those interest rates will be. And as Lucy says, it's why we'll continue to look at how we can make this system as fair as possible for those who are repaying their student loans. And of course, from 2028, for students who are thinking about going to university, we will reintroduce grants so that nobody should be put off going to university where they can benefit from it because they're worried about how they're going to pay for it.
I just want to ask you about zero-hours contracts, because your government's own analysis has said that the cost of business of a ban on zero-hours contracts could be up to £3 billion a year. So should this be reconsidered, given that businesses are already struggling with higher national insurance costs, as well as the minimum wage going up as well? The British Chambers of Commerce has called it a further hammer blow to businesses.
Look, we will look very carefully at how we implement the changes that we have put in place through our Employment Rights Act. But just to remind people why we did that in the first place, that's to make sure that when people get into work, that will be work that is fairly paid, where they've got security, where they can combine it with the responsibilities that they have in their families. And if we think about 0 hours contracts, of course we'll think about how we implement it. But I don't think it's fair for somebody to be on a contract where they literally don't know whether or not they're going to be working at all, and yet they're bound by that contract. So that's what we want to bring an end to. But of course we'll continue to talk to employers and others about the way in which we implement those improvements for workers.
Well, Baroness Jackie Smith, good to talk to you this morning. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, a once-in-a-generation, almost total solar eclipse wowed millions of people across the UK. Crowds gathered in parks, on beaches, to watch the moon glide past the sun, achieving more than 90% just after 7 o'clock last night. Well, meanwhile, in Spain, this was amongst the best places in Europe to experience a total solar eclipse, and it drew plenty of tourists from across the continent and beyond. So let's go live to Spain now. We can speak to physicist and astronomer Dr. John Mason. So you travelled to Spain, as I understand it, to experience the total eclipse. So was it worth the trip?
Absolutely worth the trip. I was one of a group of 230 people in our particular group, and we came to the beautiful city of Burgos, where we are now, and we travelled out to the west of the city to a site very high up, actually on the Camino de Santiago, on the Pilgrim's Way. We had a fantastic view. The weather was absolutely superb. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. And although the total eclipse, the actual totality part, only lasted 105 seconds, it was absolutely magnificent. Wonderful colours in the eclipse itself, beautiful colours around the horizon, an absolutely magnificent event in every way.
So beautiful actually looking at it in the sky, but what about the atmosphere on Earth? How did it feel to you?
It's an incredible shared experience. Things like this are really amazing. If you go to something like a pop festival or something like that, there's that wonderful shared experience of enjoying the music and enjoying the camaraderie of the people around you. And that's exactly what it was like on the eclipse site, with these people come from all over the world to be part of our group, to share this experience, to see the eclipse and to experience one of nature's greatest spectacles.
Quite incredible. And I noticed that in one of our reports that we're covering this morning, talking to people who'd witnessed it, I think in this country, a lot of people saying they felt really emotional. Are you surprised by that?
No, not at all. To be honest, the partial eclipse that you saw from the UK, although it was a big one, the biggest in the south of England for 27 years, to see a total eclipse is an amazing experience, possibly 50 times greater than what people in the UK experience. So it is a very emotional experience. People do get emotional. We had a lot of people for which it was their first total eclipse they'd ever seen, and the emotions were very high. Some people burst into tears. It's an incredible shared experience. For me, this was my 22nd total eclipse, and it still gives me a lump in my throat, that moment before the sun disappears behind the dark disk of the moon. You can't describe it really until you've actually been there and seen it. So I would say to anyone, if you thought the partial eclipse you saw from the UK was a wonderful experience, you need to see a total eclipse.
Well, yeah, 27, that's extraordinary. So, I mean...
22.
22, apologies. Well, you need to clock up 5 more to get to my total.
Yeah, well, hopefully, if
I'm
I
sure
live
you
that
will.
long.
I'm sure you will. But given that, was this one different in any way, or do they have... I mean, obviously, the same event is occurring between the moon and the sun, but does it create a different feeling each time in any way?
You're right, it's the moon covering the sun in every case, completely covering the sun, but every single one is totally different. Different for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's the location you watch it from. It's all about the place you are, the local terrain, the ambience, the people in your group. So that is one thing. But the sun's activity changes from eclipse to eclipse. You're never quite sure what it is you're going to see, what range of phenomena you're going to see. There's the beautiful red prominences, the plumes of gas rising from the sun. There's the corona, the sun's outer atmosphere stretching outwards. There's the moment when the sun disappears behind the moon. That's always different. And the glorious diamond ring when the sun reappears at the end of totality. And in that 105 seconds that we experienced yesterday, which is a relatively short eclipse, next year there'll be one over 6 minutes, but during that time, it's an assault on all the senses. There is so much happening and changing around you, but it's hard to take it all in, and that adds to the emotion of the event.
So one next year lasting 6 minutes, can I guess that you might be heading wherever it is that one can be seen from, and where is it?
Well, it starts over the extreme southwestern corner of Spain, then it goes across Gibraltar, and then across the Mediterranean, and then right across North Africa. Lots of people are going to Egypt, to places like Luxor, for example, in Egypt. I'm going to Egypt too, but I'm going to the Western Desert over towards Libya. And then the following year, in 2028, there's one in Australia, and that goes right across Australia from the northwest corner to the southeast, goes right over Sydney, so a huge number of people will see it there. But I'm going to the middle of Australia, north of Alice Springs, where we're in the middle of the outback. It'll be a really incredible landscape to see this event. So, yeah, you can plan your holidays into the future with this sort of event.
Clearly. I think you're giving us all eclipse fever, and everyone's going to be booking their trips, I'm sure, after listening to you. Dr. John Mason, a real pleasure to chat to you this morning and hear about your incredible experience last night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Donald Trump once described Caroline Leavitt as having machine gun lips. A close confidant of the president, the energetic White House press secretary is now leaving the role. Our US correspondent James Matthews tells us why.
Caroline Leavitt has been Donald Trump's second-term press secretary. At 28, the youngest ever. She recently gave birth to her second child, her reason for leaving, although she will remain as an outside advisor. On X, she posted this: "The truth is, since returning to the White House after the birth of my daughter, I have felt in my heart that I cannot be the best mum my 2 young children deserve, while devoting the constant time, energy and attention required of the White House press secretary. And that is why I have ultimately made the bittersweet decision to depart the White House and embark on a new chapter in my life. My fight is entering a new phase, but it is far from over." She's one of the best-known faces in America, a robust mouthpiece for the Trump administration. Between press secretary and press, it has been difficult, antagonistic. It's fair to say that straight answers have been scarce when she has been at the podium. Relations, indeed, have been fractured between government and media, worse than they have been before in this country. Caroline Leavitt was a spokesperson very much up for the fight on behalf of the boss. That's why she's a big loss for him. He's been on Truth Social calling her one of his most trusted aides. It's difficult to point to an obvious successor. We saw that when she was on maternity leave. There was no obvious candidate, and we saw an ever-changing cast. A positive, perhaps, for the Trump administration may be that he is the subject of negative headlines on Iran, on prices, on poll ratings, on his aircraft switch in Turkey. When the messaging gets awkward, sometimes it can help to change the messenger.
Let's take a look now at some of the morning's other stories. And the death toll from Colombia's earthquake on Monday has risen to at least 265 people, according to the country's president. He said nearly 500 people remain missing, but local databases estimate this figure to be over 4,000. US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, may soon be given access to gloves that deliver electric shocks. The agency plans to spend nearly £15 million to provide officers with the devices. The move has been heavily criticised by rights groups across the US. The son of Hollywood actor and director Rob Reiner has denied stabbing his parents to death in their Los Angeles home in December. In documents unsealed in court, it was revealed that prosecutors believe Nick Reiner laid in wait for his parents before the fatal attack. If found guilty, he could face the death penalty if convicted. For the first time in almost a century, a chocolate bar has been made with entirely British ingredients. The bar was created by a student at the University of Reading using cocoa beans grown in Berkshire. The only other 100% British chocolate bar was made in 1932 and was gifted to a then 6-year-old Princess Elizabeth. Let's take a look now at the weather.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News weather.
Well, it's going to be even hotter today than yesterday, but a northwesterly wind means that temperatures will be lower tomorrow. The Met Office has an amber warning for heat covering much of central England, running from 9 a.m. to midnight, while Ireland has yellow warnings for most eastern parts, valid from 6 a.m. tomorrow. Most parts can expect plenty of sunshine this morning, but Ireland, Northern Ireland and northwest Scotland will be cloudier with a scattering of locally heavy and potentially thundery showers spreading slowly east. It'll turn very warm generally and hot in the sunshine over England and Wales, with 38 degrees Celsius just about possible in some central and southeastern parts. Expect little change during the afternoon. Showers in the north and west will extend into parts of Wales and western England tonight, but central and eastern England look dry and clear. England and Wales will be mostly very warm again. Tomorrow will be sunny with some showers around, possibly heavy in the southeast later, with the showers concentrated in the north. A northwesterly wind will make it less hot generally.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News weather.
Stay with us. We're going to be talking papers in just a moment. We've got the political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, going through the headlines with me in a moment.
This is how you travel when the mafia wants to kill you.
He's almost given up his own freedom, but that's the price he's willing to pay.
Here, they don't just arrest and Ndrangheta mafia members, they also live among them.
Time after time, I've seen the devastating impact of extreme weather and climate change.
We don't have much snow at the moment.
They've had a warm spring and exceptionally hot summer, and that means they're expecting to lose more than 3 times the amount of ice than they usually do.
Flames are still forcing people from their homes and leaving many questioning their futures.
Here was my life. We have nothing. I can't say anything, it's so sad.
This disaster is testing the resolve of everyone on this island.
The only way out now is by boat.
Everything you see is devastated, and the misery being felt by people living here is repeated in towns and villages across Central Europe. Sky News, get the full story first.
Turkey is burying its dead. The loss is profound.
Whole families died in this collapse, generations wiped out. The violence has penetrated the heart of the city rather than being contained to the estates around the edge, and that speaks to the level of anger being felt here.
In Sweden, police have seized a lethal stash. This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
This is an example of an advert, really. Anyone of any age could say, I'll do that for £1 million, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
I bet right now you often find yourself asking why. Why was a certain decision taken? Why did something happen? Why did they say or do that? I'm Neil Patterson, and it's my job as a journalist to find out why. Just explain why.
It's a difficult one.
Well, I mean, it's massive.
It's a very, very severe situation. So if you want to make sense of this complicated world, Sky News' new podcast, This Is Why, is your daily fix. One story every day, and we can find out why together. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Jubilation in the streets, while some emotional
This is a political victory for Prime Minister Modi and his Hindu Nationalist Party. I'm Neville Lazarus, and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi. Companies like these are helping India in its trajectory to be a serious player in space exploration. Sky News, get the full story first.
So time now to chat through the papers with Kevin Schofield from HuffPost UK, political editor indeed. Welcome to you. Nice to see you. Very good morning. So the morning after the eclipse, the night before, making a lot of the front pages, all the front pages, possibly
pretty much all. I mean, they're spectacular.
Yeah, spectacular. The front of the eye just makes it very simple, beautiful photograph, and once in a generation. Picture of a total eclipse, that looks like to me.
Yeah, so we didn't get that last night. But, I mean, as good as, really, from a layman's point of view. I mean, we were... I went to the local park with the kids and my wife, and with the glasses, and it was near as anything, really. It was so close to a full eclipse. It was amazing, you know?
Yeah, and there was, where I went to our local park as well, and there was a great communal atmosphere. It was brilliant. I've never seen so many colanders out in the wild before, I have to say.
It was weird.
Yeah, but people really happy with the results they got from those. There was one woman I saw who said she'd looked at an eclipse in 1999 and actually damaged her sight.
Oh, dear.
So she was there with a piece of paper that she'd made a pinprick through and a bit of cardboard, and again she was delighted with the little image that she got. And there was generally a kind of amazing atmosphere in this really spooky light.
Yeah, that was the strangest thing as well, because obviously with the heat wave we've been having in London, the temperature really dropped as well, which was actually quite nice.
Wind picked up a little bit.
Yeah, and it was just really strange, and the light was almost like dusk, but a little bit different. It was really odd. But yeah, as you say, great atmosphere, all age ranges, families there, some sitting in deck chairs, just sort of happily watching it with their glasses on, and people a few drinks. It was kind of nice, sort of. And I think people were just so like in awe of it as well. You know, just, no one really knew. Those certainly younger kids that weren't around in 1999 just like didn't really know what to expect, and it was pretty awe-inspiring.
So I've just been talking to a physicist who has just clocked up last night in northern Spain, which had totality, his 22nd total eclipse. He says the next one will be, I think he said southwest Spain, and moving across some of the Mediterranean then, and there's another one in Australia after that, which he's got all on his schedule. Is that something that you would do, travel to see a total eclipse?
I mean, yeah, if I had the money and the time and was able to do it, I mean, I think if you were retired and had lots of, like, a massive pension and you didn't have anything else to do, it'd be a great way, wouldn't it?
It would be great.
You could plan it out, pardon the pun, but you could plan it out over, you know, for the next few years. It'd be great.
Eclipse
But maybe
chasing.
once you've seen one full eclipse, you've seen them all. Maybe
No, he didn't
maybe
seem
you
to
get
think
a bit blasé.
so they're very different and they're just as amazing each time. Anyway, let's move on to a story inside The Guardian that you've picked out about the number of staff at DEFRA who are focused on the climate crisis.
Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned just a moment ago the hot temperatures we've been having, the fifth heat wave we're now in the middle of this summer in the southeast of the country. And the Guardian did an FY request to find out exactly how many government staff in the DEFRA department, which deals with climate change, how many are actually working on adapting to the climate crisis, because, you know, all the measures about net zero, if they are going to take effect, it's not going to be for decades into the future. So I think we have to adapt now at the moment to these temperatures, and it's only 20 out of 6,600 staff in that department are actually dealing with how we adapt, because unfortunately I think it's going to be like this now. This is maybe the new normal, and it's incumbent on the government, I think, to come up with ways that we try and cope with it. We can't stop it, certainly not in the near future. So
we can limit the rise in temperatures, can't we?
Yeah.
But I guess each department is probably going to be mindful of an issue within their brief. I mean, we've heard this morning from the Royal College of Nursing talking about unbearable conditions within hospitals, saying that sometimes it's nurses fainting and finding it very hard in 30 degrees on some of the wards. So, you know, is the health department going to have to look at adapting and look at the cost of air conditioning, for example, because patients obviously won't be comfortable either.
No, exactly. And all of these things obviously cost money, which is something that the government doesn't really have a lot of lying around spare. So, again, it's another issue that lands on Andy Burnham's inbox, I suppose.
Absolutely, it's got a big inbox, isn't it? Daily Telegraph has a story here about President Putin threatening British ships.
Yeah, so he's not happy at these shadow fleet ships. So these are ships which carry sanctioned Russian oil, but they sail under other countries' flags. So they're not, I guess, officially Russian ships, but they are as good as. And, we've seen them in British waters, and, the government's taken a more robust attitude towards boarding these vessels. And Putin says he's not going to put up with it. And, I mean, it's a bit of sabre rattling, really. You kind of take it with a pinch of salt, I think. But he says, he doesn't mention Britain by name, but he says we can see that the authorities of certain countries, including Britain, in violation of international maritime law, are attempting to restrict the movement of these vessels. And he says that they will respond in kind, which, in theory, could mean Russian troops boarding British vessels, which would be a real escalation and obviously something best avoided.
And have we heard much from Andy Burnham about Russia? I mean, obviously he's got so many different issues to talk about, and he's only been in office for a few weeks. But can we assume more of the same?
Yeah. I mean, he's met Zelensky, and he has said, no change in the policy. I mean, that is one thing I think that Keir Starmer was praised for, was his strong support. And, to be fair, the previous Conservative Prime Ministers as well, strong support for Ukraine, and there's no way Andy Burnham will change that.
Let's move on to something in the Daily Mail, which looks like an extraordinary vehicle. I'm not sure if I want to travel in it, but
no, definitely not. Yeah, so not your average JCB. You think of diggers and things that move very slowly. This, in actual fact, is a JCB hydrogen engine in a... Well, you call it a car, but I mean, you wouldn't really go down the shops in this thing. But it's broken.
Unless you wanted to get there very quickly.
Very quickly indeed. But it's now broken the land speed record, driven by a British chap by the name of Andy Green. He reached oh my God, it's terrifying, really, 406 miles per hour without even getting into top gear. So he presumably could have gone a little bit faster. So he did this on the Utah's Bonneville salt flats. But you need a lot of room to be able to do this. But yeah, it's 32 feet long, and it had two 4.8 litre four-cylinder hydrogen internal combustion engines, which 800 horsepower, so quite speedy. And yeah, so even faster. He says 400 miles an hour would have been at the extent of their wildest dreams, but he hit 406 and broke the record. So it says they're world's fastest JCB. Amazing.
How extraordinary. That really is amazing. Are they talking about practical uses for it, or is it just to sort of to test science?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As I say, I'm not sure. You probably got a few tickets on that, driving up the M1, but
yeah. fair few.
Pretty amazing achievement.
Yeah, absolutely. Daily Express talks about using the stairs might be... even just using the stairs on a daily basis, a reasonable number of flights, can make a difference to our health. Yeah,
I mean, I guess it's common sense that, you use stairs maybe instead of lifts or whatever. You are going to burn more calories, but it's the extent, I think, of the health benefits. This research said there were 39% fewer deaths from heart problems. I mean, that's a lot, and 24% from any cause for those in this study who climb stairs regularly. So, it's worth it if you're tempted to maybe take the lift for a couple of floors. If you're able to, maybe take the stairs instead. It could extend your life.
To do that, which sounds very smug of me, but only because I don't do enough elsewhere. I think, well, it's the least I can do.
But it just shows, these little things can actually make a big difference.
But and I guess for older people, it is good to, to keep flexible like that as well.
Yeah.
But there is a risk with stairs for older people as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, if you're able to do it, there's no point doing it if you're going to take unnecessary risks with your health in other ways. But yeah, if you're fit enough to be able to get up and down the stairs, then obviously well worth it, I think.
Unless you live on the 30th floor.
then it may well actually have a counter effect on you.
Exactly. And finally, we're going to turn to the Mirror, and they are talking about Dame Julie Andrews. What is happening?
Yeah, the end of an era. Dame Julie Andrews has announced finally that she has retired from acting at the grand old age of 90. So she was still working.
She's 90. She really doesn't look 90.
You know, she looks great, doesn't she? And she's been working right up until relatively recently. She was the voice of Marlena in Minions: The Rise of Gru in 2022, when she was only 86 then, right enough. But she's been working in the Princess Diaries films, and the third one was coming up, and she was due to be in it, but she said no.
And she was the voice of Lady Whistledown in Bridgerton.
That's right.
I knew I'd been aware of her working more recently than that. So that is incredible.
Obviously better known for Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music in her prime.
Yeah, exactly.
50s, 60s, 70s.
Will you be working to the age of 90?
Well, the way things are going with the pension, probably, but I would not through choice. Not through 90. Choice, certainly. Well, we were talking about that last night. If I'll still be around with my kids, I says, well, you'll still be around for the next one, but I won't be.
Yeah, no, I won't be. I think they're talking something. Was it the next total one, 2090 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
I can't remember, but it's too long.
A long way away.
That's for sure. Anyway, having said that, you'll be back in the next hour. We'll see you then, Kevin. Thanks very much indeed. Top stories next.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist.
A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan has the right to respond.
You're like, what?
A historic day here today. Congratulations, this is a huge moment. But what happens now?
Hello, a very good morning. It's 8 o'clock. This is Mornings on Sky News with me, Anna Jones. Plunged into darkness, we'll bring you all the best moments from last night's once-in-a-generation solar eclipse. A-level results day for hundreds of thousands of students today. We'll be live at colleges for that moment of truth. We report from the city at the heart of Sudan's devastating conflict and look at what role the UK is playing. And Caroline Levitt, the White House press secretary Donald Trump once described as having machine gun lips, leaves her role. Hello, very good morning. Thanks for joining us. So, millions of solar sightseers were drawn to a once-in-a-generation eclipse last night. The UK's best vantage points saw as much as 96% of the sun shielded by the moon. And the phenomenon was even more spectacular in other parts of Europe. A total solar eclipse cast an eerie shadow across the usually picture postcard perfect sands of Mallorca. And Ali Bunkle was there.
For the first time this millennium, Western Europe went dark as the moon crossed the sun and a total eclipse sent the continent into early nightfall. Wow. The Arctic Circle, where the sun doesn't set during the summer months, today was the first to experience totality.
I think I'm just going to put my glasses on and look, but I do believe we have first contact here in Greenland.
The build-up to that, the lighting is like nothing you've ever seen. It's a strange, grey, monochrome, eerie twilight, which isn't like regular twilights. This can only happen during eclipse conditions, when the sun is higher in the sky. It's frankly alien and very eerie.
Iceland wasn't so lucky. The weather there slightly spoilt the show. But in Spain, the skies were clear as the path of totality cut right across the country. 500,000 people are estimated to have travelled here for the eclipse alone, and it was surely worth every penny.
I saw the one in 2024 and was amazed. So I definitely had to come here, and from my research, this looks like the best spot to view it.
In Mallorca, the final place to experience totality, people watched from the rooftops, on the beach, and in the sea. For a few minutes, it felt like a normal sunset at the end of a hot day alongside the Mediterranean. But as the moment neared, the temperature dropped, the light quickly disappeared, and then...
Just look at this, or look at what you can see, and have a listen to this. We have totality now, and an event that is old as the planet itself. You can also see the modernity of the lights of camera phones as everybody can now remove their glasses and look at that spectacular image and capture it for themselves on their phones.
For 90 seconds, Mallorca experienced totality, and we witnessed an event too extraordinary to properly describe. And as fast as it went, the light returned. Like a twilight sunset, the moon appeared to be on fire.
It was worth all 90 seconds of totality that we got. It really, like you said, there are words that don't describe it. But to be in the presence of it and to just hear all of these people clapping and applauding and everyone just collectively being in this space of just enjoying this incredible astronomical event.
For a brief moment, this was a natural event far more powerful than most of us can comprehend, as ancient as the planets themselves. 90 seconds when a turbulent world stopped in awe and watched as one. Alistair Bunkle, Sky News, in Palma, Mallorca.
And no surprise that last night's event has inspired the newspaper editors. There are the front pages. The Eye has called it the once-in-a-generation eclipse. The greatest show on Earth is the headline on the front of the Daily Telegraph. The Times is calling it the darkest hour. And The Sun simply says the moon. And do stay with us because we will be covering more of the papers in our news review with political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, and we'll have lots more reaction to last night's eclipse, wherever you were, either in this country or abroad. But right now, it's A-Levels Day. Students have been getting their results. A record number of people have gained a university spot. Initial UCAS figures show a record 262,820 have secured a place. And we're going to hear from UCAS very shortly, actually. But right now, we can go to Leeds. Our correspondent Charlotte Leeming is there with students. Charlotte, a nerve-wracking time for these students. Talk us through it there.
It certainly is, isn't it? It's a good few decades since I collected mine and I still feel quite sick, and we've got some very brave, willing students with us from Leeds. Big smiles on the face, I have to say. They've just come flocking through the doors at 8 o'clock, up bright and early. We're going to talk to Lizzie and Alex. Lizzie, just tell us, first of all, what course you did here.
So I did A-Level 330 Design and Production course, yeah.
And you've got some real ambitious plans, haven't you?
Yeah, so I'm going down to London and, yeah, going to the Central School of Speech and Drama.
That is fantastic. So what we're hoping for, let's have a look.
There you go, triple distinction star, so that's good, that's what I wanted.
That's all right then, isn't it? We've got the principal there who's nodding his approval. That's brilliant, congratulations. And how were you feeling? We know you've worked hard, but there's always that doubt, isn't it, at the last minute?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm proud of myself for being able to achieve this. I mean, I joined here when I was 18, so kind of a bit of a latecomer, so I'm really happy that I was able to do it.
Brilliant, brilliant, Lizzie. Now, Alex, let's get opening that envelope. You've been more vocational, haven't you, in your course?
So I did a T-level in design and development engineering, but I got offered an apprenticeship through my work experience.
Fantastic. And what you're hoping for here, just before we open it?
I mean, a distinction, hopefully, but I think I'll get a merit.
Let's have a look, Alex.
I got a pass.
Fantastic. But you've got your apprenticeship in place
yeah,
already?
Exactly, yeah, so
yeah.
I wasn't too stressed about my results.
That's brilliant. And we've been hearing, haven't we, certainly the government now, you're the principal at the sixth form.
That's right.
Dr. Mark, and really the vocational route is very popular now. It's what Andy Burnham particularly wants to see.
Yeah, you've heard from two students here from the broad Illuminate group in terms of the applied courses that they do. We also offer within Illuminate T-level courses, BTEC courses, and we have within Leeds Sixth Form College some amazing applied science BTECs as well. So they get onto university places incredibly well, those young people. We have spectacular progress with those young people, and really we'd want to call on the government to look at those vocational routes and really support those vocational routes going forward. There's lots of ways forward. We've got apprenticeship here, university options with non-traditional non-A-level routes. We've got lots of students as well here who are going to be getting their A-level results, and we're really hopeful that they're going to get into their chosen place as well. But I think it's important to emphasise that there's lots and lots of routes through for young people to get to their next destination.
And Alex, we do appreciate you opening this on live TV.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now to celebrate, do you think?
Well, I've still got work in the afternoon, so I'm going to be going after this, probably.
It's not going to even get...
That's impressive. Not even getting a rest on A-level results day.
Yeah, but the company has been, lovely to me anyway, so
well,
I'm happy to work with them, so...
Fantastic. And very quickly, Lizzie, what are your plans today?
I might go to the cinema to celebrate.
Of course, very artistic. Well, big relief. You can see now they're starting to queue here for their results. There's a lot of smiles, I have to say. And, yeah, we'll be coming live from here a little later on. Congratulations, though, to Alex and Lizzie.
Oh, Lottie, thanks very much indeed. Sorry about the tapping noise there that we heard, but I thought it was someone's heart rate, if I'm totally honest. But huge congratulations to those students, and we do want to thank them for opening their results live on air. My results were terrible, so I would not have done that myself. Let's bring in our education reporter, Anjum Pir-Bakos now. She's in northwest London. Anjum, explain the situation where you are.
So I'm here with some students in northwest London, and they're about to open their results again live on air, so we really are grateful for them doing this. I've got two sets of twins, would you believe? So we're going to ask, we're going to start with our first set of twins.
My name's Kian.
Yeah, if you want to do that, this moment, that you've been waiting for 2 years. How did you do?
I got 3 stars.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing! Huge congratulations. Kian, and what are you planning to do next?
I'm going to go study Warwick, econ at Warwick University.
So economics at Warwick University. Huge congratulations. How are you feeling?
Relieved, mainly, yeah.
And have you got any plans to celebrate tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to go out with my friends tonight.
Yeah? Where are you going, do you know?
No, I don't know yet.
Okay, right. And we're going to ask your twin now, Cheyenne. So do you want to open your envelope now?
I got 2 A stars and an A.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. That is amazing. Thanks so much for opening that with us. And what are your plans now?
I'm going to go to LSE and do geography with economics.
Fantastic. Huge congratulations. Right, we're going to come to our next set of twins now. What's your name?
Nikita.
Nikita. How are you feeling?
A bit nervous.
Understandably. When you're ready.
I got an A star and 3 A's.
Oh my goodness, that is fantastic. I am so happy for you. Congratulations. Right, and your twin sister waits?
Yeah, my name's Yashvi. Yeah. I got 3 A's.
Oh, congratulations, Yashvi. Amazing. And what are your plans now?
LSE, Philosophy and Economics.
Amazing. And Nikita?
Imperial Economics, Finance and Data Science.
Fantastic. Right, I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. This has been so nerve-wracking for you.
My name's Baheli, so... A star, AB.
Congratulations! And what are your plans now, Baheli?
I'm going to King's to do psychology.
That is fantastic. I'm so happy for you all, absolutely delighted. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. I'm sure you want to run off and speak to your loved ones now, so I don't want to keep you any longer. Huge congratulations. And you've all decided to go down the university route, is that right? What's made you do that?
I feel like I just want a bit more time to make my decisions career-wise, so yeah, I thought that uni would be the best option for me.
And how do you, is that something that you kind of had in your mind all the time, or is this kind of you explored other options?
So I did explore other options, but I did come to the conclusion that this would be the best option in the end.
And are you worried about things like the student loan situation? Like there's been a lot of news coverage about that.
Well, yes and no. I feel like I'll deal with it as it comes and just, yeah.
So it hasn't put you off going to university?
I don't think so, no.
Anybody else worried about the student loan situation?
No, not really.
Not at all?
No, slightly.
And was university the only option for you, or had you explored other options?
It was the only option for me, mainly because I don't know what I want to do yet, so I want to get a bit more experience and a bit more time waiting, because I think university is the right choice for me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for all of you for opening your results live on air. I cannot appreciate it, and I cannot imagine how nerve-wracking that was for you, but thank you, and huge congratulations to you all. Thanks so much, and hopefully we'll hear from some more students later on in the day.
Anjan, thanks very much indeed. My goodness, what an incredible set of results that was. I feel completely humbled. As I say, mine really not very good. Lots more reaction to A-level, T-level and BTEC results are coming out today a little bit later on. We're going to be hearing from UCAS and also from a head teacher as well. That's all to come. But in the meantime, temperatures are expected to rise as high as 37 degrees in the south of Britain today, sparking concerns about further wildfires. Well, the Prime Minister says he's considering issuing a ban on disposable barbecues because of that risk.
The framework restricting the retail sale of those disposable barbecues is being extended. And now I would ask all retailers, big and small, to adhere to that framework. Longer term, we will look at whether a temporary ban in the summer months is justified. But for now, we are calling on all retailers to observe that ban particularly.
So let's find out just how hot it's likely to be. Sky meteorologist Kirsty McCabe joins us now. So, Kirsty, fifth heat wave. How hot is this one likely to be, and how far is it likely to spread across the country?
Good morning. Yes, we are in the fifth hot spell affecting the UK since the beginning of May. So it's been a really hot summer, so hot, in fact, that it's likely to be the hottest summer on record, and we're not through the month yet. Now, in terms of how hot it's going to be over the next few days, well, it looks so the heat is going to peak today. So we're looking widely at temperatures into the high 20s, into the 30s across parts of southern Scotland, all the way down across England and Wales, peaking at around 38 in the southeast. Now, 38.5 is the all-time August temperature record. There's about a 20% chance we could break that record today. Certainly likely to get close to it. So a really hot day. It's not as humid as it was back at the end of June, but still might feel a little bit muggy for some of us today. And it has been a tropical night. Last night, that was where temperatures stayed above 20 degrees all night. That was across parts of the south. And we could see another tropical night tonight as well. But after that, the temperatures are going to start dipping. So we're looking at perhaps by the weekend down to nearer normal, but still pretty warm. We're looking at temperatures gradually tailing off 34 tomorrow, down to 28, then 27, then 26 by the time we get to Monday. So fresher conditions are coming, and a change today actually into the northwest. We'll see a cold front coming through. That could trigger a few heavy and thundery downpours across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland through this afternoon, because it's still quite warm there, high 20s, low 30s. So could see a few heavy and thundery downpours to watch out for in the northwest. But the main story, of course, is that extreme heat across much of central and eastern England. It is going to turn fresher as we head through the weekend. There's not much rain in the immediate forecast, though, apart from a little bit coming towards the northwest as we go through the weekend into Monday, Tuesday, but really nothing significant at the moment for the rest of the summer.
How extraordinary. It has been crazy temperatures, hasn't it? Kirsty, thanks very much indeed. Keep cool is my advice. I'm pretty sure that jacket will come off during the day of Kirsty's. So really hot day ahead. And amidst this heat wave, the Royal College of Nursing has warned that nurses are collapsing at work because of the heat. They've described the conditions in hospitals as not fit for humans. So let's find out more from Graham, who's here. So yes, they're talking about horrible conditions that the nurses are saying that they're working in.
Yeah, and primarily you heard there, you know, temperatures today may be going up to 38 degrees. Temperatures in wards, according to the RCN, are going up above 30, pushing up towards 37, 38 as well. They're describing nurses collapsing and having to be treated by the teams that they're meant to be working alongside. They've reported pregnant nurses saying it's impacting their health, while two nurses reported back to them who had pre-existing conditions said that they were having seizures due to excessive heat. There are, of course, concerns too about the welfare of patients in that environment. The RCN say that mainly it's buildings with no aircon or broken aircon, ageing buildings in a state of disrepair, outdated design, poor ventilation. They say trusts are having to try and make a decision whether to winter-proof a building or summer-proof a building, fix the leaks or fix the insulation. They're asking for help to fix those issues. Health and Social Care Secretary Yvette Cooper, obviously still pretty new into the job. She has responded. She says staff do a remarkable job to respond to rising A&E attendances and ambulance call-outs, heat problems amongst the elderly and difficult working conditions. But she's also said that the NHS now needs to plan for summer pressures in the way we currently plan for winter pressures, and that includes making sure buildings are more resilient in these extreme heat conditions. I suspect some NHS bosses will say that they are trying to plan for these summer heat waves, but it's very difficult because at the moment there is no new money on the table. As I said, Yvette Cooper's still very new into the job, so we'll have to see how she deals with challenges like this.
Yeah, indeed. Graham, thanks very much indeed. Now, let's go back to results day, because hundreds of thousands of students in England, Wales and Northern Ireland will be collecting their A-level, T-level and B-Tech results this morning. Many will also have been anxiously waiting to see if they've secured a place at their first choice of university. Well, let's get more on just that with the Chief Executive of UCAS, Dr Jo Saxton, who joins us now live. Very good morning to you. So, big day for these students. What can you tell us about the numbers who are likely to be off to university this year?
Well, as you say, it's a big day and we're seeing some fantastic results this morning. Almost 250,000 UK 18-year-old school and college leavers have been accepted at university today. That's a record number. And within that, we're seeing a really fascinating trend. We're seeing 35,000 new engineers who are going to study that subject at university. That's an increase of almost 14%. It's fantastic for those people and it's brilliant for the country.
What do you make of this rise? What's it down to?
Well, we talk to students all the time here at UCAS and we see them making really savvy decisions. They think about university as the best way to get themselves on that career ladder to an interesting and fulfilling future.
But I'm interested in the rise, partly in the context of the fact that the number of foreign students is down, isn't it? Has that impacted on students here? Are they finding it easier to get into university because there are simply more places?
Well, there are more 18-year-olds alive than there have ever been. So it's been a really competitive year. So anyone accepting university place today has done incredibly well. You're right that international students are down in terms of those who want to study masters or postgraduate degrees. But in terms of the number of international students interested in the world-class UK 3-year undergraduate degree, those numbers are actually up today slightly.
The Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, and his new Education Secretary, Lucy Powell, have talked a lot about making sure there's parity between vocational qualifications and academic ones like A-levels. Is that something that you welcome? Absolutely. Students having choice is the most important thing. If they're doing something that they're passionate about, then they're going to succeed. The choices that we've got here at UCAS, we help support students make that decision between university and other options. And even today, for people who haven't yet quite accepted a place, there are something like 27,000 courses available in clearing. So for anyone who would still like to start university in the autumn, my message to them is that you've got lots and lots of choice and plenty of experts on hand here at UCAS to give you advice. And Andy Burnham said that the days of a school system configured entirely around the university route will be brought to an end. Do you worry at all that students might be put off university with the rhetoric coming from politicians at the moment? Yeah, that is something that I was worried about. And so we've talked to thousands of students, and it's really interesting. They're telling us that choice matters to them, but they also are choosing university in record numbers. And I think it's really important to keep this in context. There's still only a third of those 18-year-olds leaving school and college who are going on to university. So, yeah, when people talk about too many, I think there are still plenty more who could be going, whilst, of course, it's really important that they exercise choice. There will be students today. We've seen some opening very bravely, opening results live on air, and all done incredibly well. There will, of course, inevitably be people who are disappointed with their results. What would your message be to them today? Well, first of all, they've shown so much resilience. We've got to remember that these young people were just starting their secondary school when the pandemic was announced. So anything that they've achieved is incredible, and they should be really proud of themselves. And as I said earlier, there are still 27,000 courses available through clearing. They've got plenty of choice. If they want to go to university this autumn, they'll absolutely be able to find a course that's the right one for them. So I would urge them to pick up the phone and talk to our experts here at UCAS for advice. Right, I was going to ask you exactly that, how you go about it, because is there research you can do about what courses are available in clearing? Is it best to do that before you pick up the phone? And how soon can places be offered if you are starting again, if you like? You're scrapping your application because you didn't get the grades and starting again. So there's loads of advice on the UCAS website, on the UCAS socials to give answers to specific questions. Clearing options have actually been visible since the 1st of July. So I know advisors in schools and colleges will have been telling students for some time to do their research. So hopefully most of them have already done some research and should have that plan B. But again, if they're at all unsure, they can pick up the phone to us and get tailored advice for them. Well, Dr. Jo Saxton, I know you've got a very busy day ahead, so thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Donald Trump once described Caroline Leavitt as having machine gun lips. A close confidant of the president, the energetic White House press secretary is now leaving the role. Our US correspondent James Matthews tells us why.
Caroline Leavitt has been Donald Trump's second-term press secretary. At 28, the youngest ever. She recently gave birth to her second child, her reason for leaving, although she will remain as an outside advisor. On X, she posted this: "The truth is, since returning to the White House after the birth of my daughter, I have felt in my heart that I cannot be the best mom my two young children deserve." while devoting the constant time, energy and attention required of the White House press secretary. And that is why I have ultimately made the bittersweet decision to depart the White House and embark on a new chapter in my life. My fight is entering a new phase, but it is far from over. She's one of the best-known faces in America, a robust mouthpiece for the Trump administration. Between press secretary and press, it has been difficult, antagonistic. It's fair to say that straight answers have been scarce when she has been at the podium. Relations, indeed, have been fractured between government and media, worse than they have been before in this country. Caroline Leavitt was a spokesperson very much up for the fight on behalf of the boss. That's why she's a big loss for him. He's been on Truth Social calling her one of his most trusted aides. It's difficult to point to an obvious successor. We saw that when she was on maternity leave. There was no obvious candidate, and we saw an ever-changing cast. A positive, perhaps, for the Trump administration may be that he is the subject of negative headlines on Iran, on prices, on poll ratings, on his aircraft switch in Turkey. When the messaging gets awkward, sometimes it can help to change the messenger.
Coming up, as we've been telling you, it's results day for hundreds of thousands of students as they get their long-awaited A-level and T-level and B-Tech grades. We'll have more on that in a moment.
Hear that whistle and that crunch. We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury.
I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul.
Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides and it's moving this way.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us?
Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office.
Here it is.
First off, just the scale of what we're looking at.
Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.
So students in England, Wales and Northern Ireland have been collecting their A-level results and their T-level results, their BTEC results. Many are also waiting to see if they secured a place at their first choice of university. Well, President of the Girls' School Association and Headmistress of Channing School, Lindsay Hughes, joins me now. Very good morning to you. Talk us through what Results Day is like for a school.
Oh, good morning. Thank you very much for having me. It's a really joyous occasion. It's been a wonderful morning so far. I've been in the library with some of my girls and their families this morning so far. I was with one of my head girls just now as she opened her envelope to 3 A stars and a place at Oxford. But there are lots of girls achieving lots of things that they didn't think were possible, and it's giving them the next steps they need for what they want after school.
Also, inevitably, people are going to be disappointed with their results in some cases. What's your advice to them?
Get the support and the advice of your school, your careers and teaching staff will be able to offer advice and next steps. And your guest just before the break, Jo Saxton from UCAS, was absolutely right. There are lots of courses available and you might need to be a bit flexible about what university you go to or whether you do a slightly different course, but there are absolutely options available.
Sometimes people end up with things that they actually prefer, don't they? Because they had applied a year before and they think, actually, this might suit me better. She was really interesting as well, talking about the subjects that people are applying for. She talked about a 14% rise in those being accepted onto engineering courses. Are you seeing a shift in the choices that your students are making?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we know that girls in girls' schools are 2 or 3 times more likely to be choosing further maths and physics at A-level, which are the things that you need to go on to do engineering. So, yes, I am absolutely seeing a rise in my school of girls who want to go and take STEM subjects at university. That's science, technology, engineering and maths. And that's really exciting because in a girls' school, girls are told they can do whatever they like. There are no stereotypes about what's a girl's subject and what's not. So they can be everything from a football-playing physicist to a flute-playing historian and expect to go to wherever they want for their next steps.
That's really interesting. We've heard a certain amount from this new government with under Andy Burnham with Lucy Powell as Education Secretary about the desire to make sure that vocational qualifications are as valuable as academic ones, like A-levels, for example. Is that something that you welcome?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's to be applauded. And I think that one of the things we pride ourselves on in our school is really listening to and knowing our young people well enough to guide them to the next step that's suitable for them. And for some people, that's not academic study in university. You know, I have a student here at the moment for whom the academic study has been really challenging, but in their 2 years in the sixth form, they've run the Model United Nations Society, they've been managing director of a young enterprise company, they've mentored and tutored an Afghan refugee through our community partnerships programme, and funnily enough, won an award for exemplifying the school's ethos by doing all of that. But they're not going to go to university, they're going straight into the world of work, and they've clearly got the confidence and the leadership attributes that they need to go and do that.
Well, yeah, and amazing to be getting into work at a time that's really tough for young people, isn't it? I mean, we have a large proportion of young people who are NEETs, not in education, employment or training, and that is a big worry. Does that feed into the school at all? Are you conscious of that in your teaching and in the ethos of the school?
For my school, not so much. We are an all-girls independent school, and therefore very few of our pupils will go on to be not in employment, education or training. But more widely, all of our colleagues, teachers and school leaders want to do the best for their young people. That's why we go into the profession. And so the government's focus on reducing the number of young people not in employment, education or training is really valuable. And we're really happy to support that. I have colleagues who are leaders in state schools who are absolutely providing those vocational options and will be happy to do more as long as the funding goes with it. That is, of course, the biggest problem.
Apologies, I didn't mean to cut you off there. So we do have a new Education Secretary. Do you have a particular message for her?
Decide what you'd like schools to provide. If you'd like us to provide vocational options from 14, no problem, fund it. If you'd like us to provide mainstream education for children with special educational needs, no problem, fund it. If you'd like us to provide really strong specialist teaching for our young people, no problem, fund it. That is the thing that holds back the education system most at the moment. And I know that my colleagues across the education system in all kinds of schools, that's their number one ask.
Well, Lindsay Hughes, we appreciate your time. Say congratulations to all your students, whatever they got. They've all worked really hard, I'm sure. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, the war in Sudan has entered its 4th year with no signs of abating. The Sudanese armed forces, backed by Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran and Qatar, are locked in conflict with paramilitary rapid support forces who are supported by the UAE. The UAE, we should say, denies that claim. Tens of thousands have been killed, with the real death toll unknown, but thought to be far higher. An estimated 15 million people have been displaced. More than 25 million face acute food shortages and are in need of urgent humanitarian assistance. So this is how Sudan looks now. The Sudanese army, which you can see there in green, hold most of the eastern part of the country, including the capital Khartoum and major cities along the Nile corridor and the Red Sea coast. Yellow towards the west is RSF territory. The state of North Kordofan is now at the heart of the conflict. The SAF recently captured the strategic city of Bara, secured the crucial nearly 300-mile highway and ended a 2-year siege of the state capital El Obeid. In response, the RSF launched counteroffensives in western Sudan. Well, Sky's Africa correspondent Yusra El-Bragir travelled to El Obeid, where residents face power blackouts, food and water shortages, as well as a constant fear of drone attacks.
Fuel tankers and trucks bombed into blackened steel, all facing the same destination. These are signs of the suffocation survived by the city that sits at the end of this road.
This is the last stretch of road before we get to El Obeid, and there is a complete shift in the comfort level. We're seeing very few cars on the road, very few people, because even though this is a key supply route for the army, the RSF are known to operate a surveillance drone that patrols this territory and launches missiles at military vehicles, fuel tankers, and even trucks carrying aid.
El Obeid has overcome the longest ground siege of Sudan's war and evaded capture by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, fighting the military for territorial control. The RSF circle around the city has been halved by army advancements for now, but they still maintain positions to the west and the south and launch attacks from above. Their drones have come for this vital infrastructure, the power station transformers that supply El Obeid with electricity. But even in the darkness of power outages, babies are born, and doctors are committed to performing the operations that are needed.
Now, retailers have warned that a ban on zero-hours contracts risks inflicting what they're calling a hammer blow to young people's job prospects. That's after the government's own analysis found the move could cost billions of pounds a year to businesses. So let's bring in Amanda now. Hi there, Amanda. This was kind of a key part of the reforms to employment laws that the government wanted to bring in, but it looks like their own analysis suggests it could be quite expensive.
Yes, yes, indeed. So, as you say, this is one of the key pledges that Labour made at the last general election, a whole suite of reforms to employment law. It's not so much a ban on zero-hours contracts necessarily as a move to restrict them in various ways. So what they're looking at doing is saying that most people on zero-hours contracts would have a guaranteed number of hours per week based on their current workload, that there would be a ban on, that employers would have to give reasonable notice for the shifts that people are going to do, and that if they did get cancelled or dramatically changed at short notice, then they would actually have to pay people for doing so. Now, they're consulting on whether this should apply to everyone on 0 hours contracts, which would be more of a ban, or whether it should be restricted to people who are only on the very fewest hours. And as part of that, they've published these estimates of how much it will cost businesses. And if they do extend it to everyone on a 0 hours contract, then they are saying it would cost businesses nearly £3 billion a year, so £2.9 billion a year, which has obviously caused absolute shock and horror across various industries. Whereas if they did restrict it to just those on the very fewest hours, then it could be £350 million a year. So obviously that is a really huge range of potential costs to businesses. Organisations like the British Chamber of Commerce have said this is a hammer blow, particularly to industries like retail and hospitality that have already been particularly hard hit by the changes to national insurance payments and the minimum wage, and in particular a concern about employment prospects for young people. Federation of Small Businesses say it would lead to soaring unemployment. Why would it be so expensive? Well, it's because of the estimates of how much those businesses would be paying people if they did change contracts at the last minute. But of course, the government would say, well, we want them to change their working practices, so they're not actually doing that. So therefore, if they change how they work, they wouldn't have to make those payments anyway. Although businesses, I think, would also say, well, being less flexible might cost them some money. The TUC, they say, no, this will be a £10 billion boost to the economy because everyone will be happier, there'll be fewer sick days, people will be more productive overall. And they're accusing all these business organisations of scaremongering. Earlier you were speaking to Jackie Smith and she defended the policy but also said that they do want to work quite closely with businesses and be careful about how they do this. Let's have a listen.
Just to remind people why we did that in the first place, that's to make sure that when people get into work, that will be work that is fairly paid, where they've got security, where they can combine it with the responsibilities that they have in their families. And if we think about 0 hours contracts, of course we'll think about how we implement it, but I don't think it's fair for somebody to be on a contract where they literally don't know whether or not they're going to be working at all, and yet they're bound by that contract. So that's what we want to bring an end to.
Clearly, a lot of these changes to employment law are about resetting the kind of balance of rights between employers and employees. Clearly, Labour, they're a Labour government, the clue's in the name, they want to be on the side of the workers. This is something that they promised to do, and they are now doing it. And clearly a criticism of certainly the previous Labour government was that they hadn't achieved enough of what they're promised to do. So they're certainly not going to change tack because of these estimates. But certainly I think what Jackie Smith was trying to say there is that they're not trying to necessarily go the whole hog and ban them completely, which would lead to the biggest possible bill. But at the same time, it's about trying to get the balance right, and businesses clearly aren't going to welcome it, really, whatever happens.
Yeah, and they want to balance the needs of business with the needs of the unions as well, representing workers, I guess. They'll be mindful of that too, won't they? Yeah. Thanks very much indeed, Amanda. So, a heat wave incoming. Let's take a look at the weather.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News Weather.
Well, it'll be even hotter today, but a northwesterly wind means that temperatures will be lower tomorrow. The Met Office has an amber warning for heat covering much of central England, running from 9 a.m. till midnight, while Ireland has yellow warnings for most eastern parts, valid until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Most places can expect plenty of sunshine this morning, but Ireland, Northern Ireland and northwestern Scotland will be cloudier, with a scattering of locally heavy and potentially thundery showers spreading slowly east. It'll turn very warm generally and hot in the sunshine over England and Wales, with 38 degrees Celsius just about possible in some central and southeastern parts.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.
Coming up next, we're going to be chatting through the papers once again with political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield.
This is how you travel when the mafia wants to kill you.
He's almost given up his own freedom, but that's the price he's willing to pay.
Here They don't just arrest Ndrangheta mafia members, they also live among them.
Time after time, I've seen the devastating impact of extreme weather and climate change.
We don't have much snow at the moment.
They've had a warm spring and exceptionally hot summer, and that means they're expecting to lose more than 3 times the amount of ice than they usually do.
Flames are still forcing people from their homes and leaving many questioning their futures.
Here was my life. We have nothing. I can't say anything, it's so sad.
This disaster is testing the resolve of everyone on this island. The only way out now is by boat.
Everything you see is devastated, and the misery being felt by people living here is repeated in towns and villages across Central Europe.
Sky News, get the full story first.
Turkey is burying its dead. The loss is profound.
Whole families died in this collapse, generations wiped out.
The violence has penetrated the heart of the city rather than being contained to the estates around the edge, and that speaks to the level of anger being felt here. In Sweden, police have seized a lethal stash. This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
This is an example of an advert, really. Anyone of any age could say, I'll do that for £1 million, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
I bet right now you often find yourself asking why. Why was a certain decision taken? Why did something happen? Why did they say or do that? I'm Neil Patterson, and it's my job as a journalist to find out why. Just explain why.
It's a difficult one.
Well, I mean, it's massive.
It's a very, very severe situation.
So if you want to make sense of this complicated world, Sky News' new podcast, This Is Why, is your daily fix. One story every day, and we can find out why together. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Jubilation in the streets, while some emotional.
This is a political victory for Prime Minister Modi and his Hindu Nationalist Party.
I'm Neville Lazarus, and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi. Companies like these are helping India in its trajectory to be a serious player in space exploration. Sky News, get the full story first.
So we're going to take another look at the newspapers today in our news review. This morning, I've got Kevin Schofield, political editor of HuffPost UK, with me. Hi there again, Kevin. And we're going to start on the eclipse because it has... I was going to say eclipsed all the other headlines. But, that would be too bad a joke, so I won't say that. But the front pages are full of the incredible pictures, and we're going to take a look at the Sun's front page because it's really quite clever, isn't it?
It's very clever, and as you said, they've probably been waiting for this for a very long time. They had this on the books, I think, but the Sun headline is the moon, with the picture of the moon moving across the surface of the Sun last night. So, yeah, I mean, that pretty much looks like how it looked to me when I was looking at it in London at about 7:10 last night. I mean, it was nearly a full eclipse, but not quite. But it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, a great experience. And I noticed in our coverage that lots of the people that we spoke to, I think down in Newquay, talked about it being emotional, which I thought was really interesting. And there is something extraordinary about it, isn't it? There is something about you feel very small. You get your real sense in the universe that you're a little speck. And it's just sort of the wonder of nature and the fact that it's quite rare, the fact that people centuries ago would have gone through this experience and possibly in some cases wonder what the hell's going on. I don't know at what point.
Well, they must have been terrified. We were talking about that actually last night with our kids before we went out, and we were actually genuinely watching Sky News, these coverage, and we were saying, you know, imagine what it must have been like in the Dark Ages before they had any idea what on earth an eclipse was. Suddenly, the sun goes out, and they must be like,
and if you've got to a traveller, you have darkness.
The end of the world or whatever, so it must have been absolutely terrifying for them. But, you're right. I mean, it does, I think, put into perspective just how small and insignificant in the big picture we are when we get so overexcited about small things, really. But it was quite emotional. Just a remarkable moment, and also a good kind of community moment. Lots of people coming together, which maybe we don't do as much as we used to these days.
And with lots of, often we're talking about quite grim news, so nice to have sort of really positive events.
Just something really, yeah, and you can't be cynical about it. I mean, it was just there and it was amazing.
And it was like watching a kind of Blue Peter Roadshow with lots of colanders and cereal packets, and that's what we saw, especially because of the shortage, or people not being able to get hold, at least,
it was,
of the glasses.
It was quite weird, seeing all these people, like, carrying colanders around down the street. I saw some people with, like, cereal boxes that they had put in a little hole at the bottom of it, looking through. I mean, it was quite wacky, but it was great. It was really good fun.
Got pretty good results, I think.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Times now, because again they've got a picture of the eclipse on their front page. That's a total eclipse, which obviously wasn't seen here but elsewhere. But you've picked out the article about the impact of the heat wave, the fact that we've had so many wildfires, and what Andy Burnham said about portable barbecues.
Yeah, so Andy Burnham chaired a meeting of the government's COBRA Emergency Committee yesterday, the first one that he's chaired on this issue of the heat waves. He's been criticised for not really talking about the heat waves, the heat wave up until now. But anyway, the main news line to come out of it was the suggestion that disposable barbecues, those little ones that you put on the ground to cook things, will be banned every year, potentially, during the summer months to prevent wildfires, because obviously they're a potential cause of these wildfires, which in the current climate, the current situation, with the heat and the dryness, just are obviously blown way out of control.
And I didn't realise there is actually guidance to say that retailers shouldn't sell them during periods of extreme heat. And he's saying, can you stick to that guidance? Because that was agreed, I think, in 2023, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right, yeah.
And retailers. I mean, I think, obviously, lovely to have a barbecue when it's hot. That's when you want one outside. But do you think most people would be pretty sympathetic to this, given the risks?
I mean, perhaps. I mean, there will definitely be people saying, well, this is just nanny state. I mean, we're sensible enough not to be reckless, and why shouldn't we be able to have, like, a little bit? If you don't have, like, a proper barbecue, why shouldn't we be able to have one? But at the same time, obviously, there are huge risks right now, and we've seen the devastation, not just in this country, but around the world, of wildfires or anything that can maybe prevent them from happening.
And we've already had as many wildfires this year as in the whole of last year, so it obviously is a bad year. The front page of The Guardian also picks up on the impact of the heat wave, and they are quoting the Royal College of Nursing, talking about the impact it's having in hospitals.
Yeah, the RCN warning, you know, nurses are collapsing during their shifts because of the heat. I mean, if you just imagine it, a lot of these hospitals won't have any air conditioning. They'll be wearing PPE, so and they've no choice but to wear it. I mean, there's a really good quote in here from one person saying, you know, it gets to the point where you dread going to work. PPE leaves you dripping with sweat from head to toe. Other hospital wards, 30-degree temperatures, and staff having to work at it. But it's not just the staff, I suppose, it's also the patients as well, who are ill and, you know, being made to having to lie in these insufferable conditions. So, it's something that we're just going to have to come up with ways of dealing with it, because any sort of improvement to the climate situation probably isn't going to happen for a long time.
And I think Yvette Cooper, the new Health Secretary, of course, now, has talked about the need for the NHS to plan for the summer in the same way as they normally plan for the winter, that it puts the pressure on health-wise, but maybe hospital conditions might be part of that as well.
Well, you're right. I mean, we hear about the winter pressures and, summer pressures now as well, unfortunately.
Yeah. The question is there the money to do all those renovations? Let's look at universities. We've been talking, of course, a lot about university this morning, with A-level results as well as other results coming out in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. But this article in The Eye talks about the pressure that universities are under. Yeah, I mean, really worrying. As you say, lots of young people will be anxiously waiting for their A-level results, hoping to go into higher education. But they're saying here, you know, post-2030, and maybe even before that, lots of universities are at risk of going bust. A sort of potent combination of fewer British students paying tuition fees, but also fewer students from abroad coming in with, and they can be charged more fees than their British counterparts. So a double whammy there, and lots of universities now recording deficits year after year, which is obviously unsustainable. And again, the government will be under pressure to come up with
some sort of solution to it. I mean, can they put up fees again? Because the other stories we've seen over the recent months are students leaving with enormous levels of student debt and having to pay back at quite extortionate rates. So it seems like a bit of a perfect storm. But, you know, the university sector is one of the great exports that we've got in this country, and if many of them will start going bust, then that would be a real crisis. Absolutely. Yeah, it's the other side of the story, isn't it? We're focusing a lot on students today, but that is an issue to think about. Now, this is an unusual headline, I'll have to say, Kevin. Yeah, it does. It makes
You'll have to talk me through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the headline is, to reduce the risk of injury, take your new baby for a jog. Yes, so it is a strange headline. I'll agree with you there. So this is all science. There was a research done into mums mainly who run with their baby in a buggy. Now they say that it causes less pressure on your joints effectively, and that's why in a buggy.
In a buggy, you're not strapped to you.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I can't imagine that'd be very good for the baby to be jiggled up and down if you're out jogging. So they say it's a bit like a Zimmer for an old person. You know, it takes the strain because you're kind of bent over, you're leaning on the buggy, and it reduces the risk of muscle strain, back and knee pain, shin splints and tendinitis. That's so interesting. Because you take shorter strides, lean forward more and run at a slower and more consistent pace. My babies are a bit too big to pop in a buggy. I'd have to Same here.
shopping in it instead. We've got about 30 seconds, but talk us through the next James Bond, what some of the criteria might not be.
So this seems to have been going on since forever, waiting for the next James Bond. There's all sorts of names in the frame, but apparently more and more casting directors are choosing based on social media following, because the idea is, you know, if you choose an actor with a huge Instagram following, for instance, more people come and see the film.
And it's free publicity. Yeah.
Free publicity, exactly. But the studio chiefs in charge of James Bond say that won't be a criteria. They want to go on quality rather than their social media presence.
Someone who chooses to go under the radar.
Indeed. Perfect.
Kevin, it's been so lovely to see you this morning. Thanks very much
Thank you.
indeed. And we've got more headlines coming away in a moment.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist.
A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan has the right to respond. You're like, what?
Historic day here today. Congratulations, this is a huge moment. But what happens now?
Hello, very good morning. It's 9 o'clock. This is Mornings on Sky News with me, Anna Jones. A-level results day for hundreds of thousands of students today. We're live at colleges for the moments of truth. Plunged into darkness, we'll bring you all the best bits from last night's once-in-a-generation solar eclipse. We report from the city at the heart of Sudan's devastating conflict and look at what role the UK is playing. And warnings the extreme heat is causing unbearable conditions in hospitals, with some nurses collapsing on the wards. Hello, very good morning. Thanks for joining us. So it's been a tense wait for young people collecting their exam results today. Hundreds of thousands of students in England, Wales and Northern Ireland are receiving their A-level, T-level and B-Tech grades. And a record number of them have gained spots at university, with initial UCAS figures showing more than 260,000 have secured a place. Well, we've been with some of the students who have just opened their results. Let's take a look.
I got an A star and 3 A's.
Oh my goodness, that is fantastic! I am so happy for you. Congratulations! Right, and your twin sister waits.
Yeah, my name's Yashvi. Yeah. I got 3 A's.
Oh, congratulations, Yashvi! Amazing. And what are your plans now?
LSE, Philosophy and Economics.
Amazing. And Nikita?
Imperial Economics, Finance and Data Science.
Yeah, some incredible results there. And we are live at schools and colleges across the country this morning. Anjum Pirbakos, who you saw just there, our education reporter, is in London. And we've also got our correspondent, Charlotte Leeming, joining us from Leeds. So, Charlotte, to you, first of all, how's it been going there this morning?
Well, people coming in, you know, anxious, nervous, excited, and we've seen lots of laughter, which is good, and people getting the future places they want at university, and a lot of vocational courses here in Leeds as well, apprenticeships too. We feel a bit mean because Molly here has got here at 8 o'clock this morning and still not got the results. She said she'd wait for us at Sky, and you're very modern. You're getting it on an email. So, Molly, what first of all is your course? What are you waiting for results-wise?
So my course is Animal Care Technical Level 3, and I'm hoping just for a pass, hoping just to pass.
Right, so we're going to have a look. You're going to open that email for us.
Merit.
So how are you feeling?
Better then. Feel very relieved. Weight off my shoulders.
That's fantastic. Did you sleep at all last night then, Molly?
Barely.
What have you been like to live with? We're going to have to bring Mum in here. Freya, what's she been like, and what have you been like?
It's been a nervous few days, and you know, a bit tense, but I'm so proud of what she's done.
I think she needs a hug. I think, you know, after all the work, the years of learning, the months of revising, and we're going to bring Chris in, her teacher. Chris, just tell us a bit more about the course and this move to more vocational studies, not just the academic stuff.
Absolutely. So, yeah, first of all, really well done. Like, really proud of you. Great job. All the work you've done is fantastic. Yeah, it's great. So all like the vocational stuff is really beneficial because obviously you've got your traditional A-level studies, which are quite exam and coursework sort of style heavy. What's great and what Molly's actually excelled at is that synoptic assessment that we have in vocational, where actually you're a lot more sort of job transferable demonstrations of skills and knowledge. So with your synoptic, with Molly's animal care, she had to demonstrate proper husbandry techniques and handling and care for those animals, which ultimately is what's going to be transferable to employment. And what's lovely now with things like university, which is obviously where you're wanting to go, is the value of those vocational studies is a lot higher and a lot better appreciated now. Sort of back when I did my A-levels many years ago, there was a lot more focus on just those A-level studies, whereas what the vocationals offer now is those practical job applicable skills, but also more often now universities are valuing those a lot more highly, and it's not a case of you have to do A-levels to go to university, as you now know, which is fantastic.
Yeah, a lot more scope, different opportunities now, something that the government and Andy Burnham certainly has been saying he wants more vocational opportunities. Molly, I think she's in shock, but tell us where you plan to go next for your course. What uni?
I was planning on going to Nottingham Trent with that was my main offer, and then my insurance was at Merscough in Preston to hopefully do it in vet nursing. To do a vet nursing.
Fantastic. And so after all the tension, the anxiety over the last few weeks, I think Mum's gone to lie down, actually. How are you going to go and celebrate now?
Going for a meal with my mum in town. Nice.
Having some retail therapy,
Definitely.
some nice family time, and congratulations.
Thank you so
And
much.
loads of positive results here today. But of course, if you didn't get what you need, there's still so many opportunities and lots of support like we've got here. Lots of online resources as well, just to help you navigate the next few hours and days. But yeah, I think mainly smiling faces here from Leeds College. But yeah, pleased with what they've gone, and now you've got a new adventure like so many teenagers and young people across the country.
Oh, yeah, so many people doing so well. And even if you don't get the results you want, as you say, so many other routes. It's making me nervous, and my results were so long ago. It's bringing it all back. Anjum Pibakos, you're in London for us this morning. Talk us through how people are getting on there.
Hi, I am in a school in North West London today, and the atmosphere has been absolutely electric, and I'm very, very fortunate to be here with Dias and his family, and he's just going to talk us through his results today. So I'm just going to ask Dias, how did you get on, Dias?
Yeah, so I'm really proud of my results today. It's taken a lot to get here as a family, but also grades-wise, interview-wise, UCAT-wise, because I would like to study dentistry at Birmingham. And it's just been a hell of a roller coaster, honestly. There's been so many ups and downs, rejections from some unis, but also offers from others. So I had the offers from Birmingham and King's, but I was rejected from Leeds and Plymouth. So it was a bit of a roller coaster, like only having two places where I could go and deciding between the two, whether I wanted to stay in London or whether I wanted to go to Birmingham. And I had to discuss it with my family as well, what the family plans wanted to do, what's better for our family. It's been everywhere. It's been everywhere, to say the least. But I'm glad where I am. I'm so thankful for my grades today. And I wouldn't have been able to gotten in without the help of my family, without the help of the school, especially with the pastoral support this year. Unfortunately for our family, we've had quite a tough, challenging year for us. We've had a lot of challenges to overcome, but together as a family, we went through them together, and especially during exam time when it was very stressful for me and I was under a lot of pressure. They constantly kept pushing me to do better and to keep my head in the game and just keep my focus all on A-levels, and thank you to them because I'm here where I am.
Well, it clearly has paid off. Dad, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, really well settled now, so super proud of him, and, to have got the results he's received, and to, get into his first choice uni. And again, here at Avanti, they've been amazing all the way throughout. So the children have attended the, Avanti schools, right through from nursery all the way through to, primary and then into secondary. The values that the school have brought through have been amazing. As Dias mentioned, it has been a extremely challenging year. We have had a tragic event within the family, but again the school have really supported every single step of the way, all the way throughout, and that goes right through from the top downwards, and everyone's just been supportive, and we're extremely grateful for him to receive this result.
Thank you. So just last question, what were the grades, Dias?
I got ABB.
Amazing.
I had a contextual offer from Birmingham.
Fantastic.
And yeah, honestly, I'm so proud.
I'm so happy for you. Huge congratulations, and I hope you really get a chance to celebrate this evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anjum, thanks very much indeed. Huge congratulations there, and to anybody who took the exams. They're so testing, aren't they? And whatever you got, well done. And also, on this subject, we talked to the head of UCAS, Dr Jo Saxton, a little bit earlier, and I asked her about whether or not students were being put off university after recent calls from politicians to pursue more vocational courses. So here's what she had to say.
That is something that I was worried about, and so we've talked to thousands of students, and it's really interesting. They're telling us that choice matters to them, but they also are choosing university in record numbers. And I think it's really important to keep this in context. There's still only a third of those 18-year-olds leaving school and college who are going on to university. So, yeah, when people talk about too many, I think there are still plenty more who could be going.
Now then, millions of solar sightseers were drawn to a once-in-a-generation eclipse last night. The UK's best vantage point saw as much as 96% of the sun shielded by the moon. And the phenomenon was even more spectacular in other parts of Europe. A total solar eclipse cast an eerie shadow across the usually picture postcard perfect sands of Mallorca. Ali Bunkle was lucky enough to be there.
For the first time this millennium, Western Europe went dark as the moon crossed the sun and a total eclipse sent the continent into early nightfall. Wow. The Arctic Circle, where the sun doesn't set during the summer months, today was the first to experience totality.
I think I'm just going to put my glasses on and look, but I do believe we have first contact here in Greenland.
The build-up to that, the lighting is like nothing you've ever seen. It's a strange, grey, monochrome, eerie twilight, which isn't like regular twilights. This can only happen during eclipse conditions, when the sun is higher in the sky. It's frankly alien and very eerie.
Iceland wasn't so lucky. The weather there slightly spoilt the show. But in Spain, the skies were clear, as the path of totality cut right across the country. 500,000 people are estimated to have travelled here for the eclipse alone, and it was surely worth every penny.
I saw the one in 2024 and was amazed. So I definitely had to come here, and from my research, this looks like the best spot to view it.
In Mallorca, the final place to experience totality, people watch from the rooftops, on the beach, and in the sea. For a few minutes, it felt like a normal sunset at the end of a hot day alongside the Mediterranean. But as the moment neared, the temperature dropped, the light quickly disappeared, and then...
Just look at this, or look at what you can see, and have a listen to this. We have totality now, and an event that is old as the planet itself. You can also see the modernity of the lights of camera phones, as everybody can now remove their glasses and look at that spectacular image and capture it for themselves on their phones.
For 90 seconds, Mallorca experienced totality, and we witnessed an event too extraordinary to properly describe. And as fast as it went, the light returned. Like a twilight sunset, the moon appeared to be on fire.
It was worth all 90 seconds of totality that we got. It really, like you said, there are words that don't describe it. But to be in the presence of it and to just hear all of these people clapping and applauding and everyone just collectively being in this space of just enjoying this incredible astronomical event.
For a brief moment, this was a natural event far more powerful than most of us can comprehend, as ancient as the planets themselves. 90 seconds when a turbulent world stopped in awe and watched as one. Alistair Bunkle, Sky News, in Palma, Mallorca.
Now, temperatures are expected to rise as high as 37 degrees in the south of Britain today, sparking concerns about further wildfires. Well, let's bring in Sky's meteorologist, Kirsty McCabe. So, Kirsty, we've had so many really hot spells this summer, haven't we? Talk us through just how hot it's likely to get today and where.
That's right. It's been a really hot and really dry summer for many of us. I know parts of Scotland, I was there just the other week, have been somewhat cooler and wetter, but the overall story is that the UK is on track to have its hottest summer on record, about 2 degrees above the mean temperature. In terms of how hot it's going to be today, well, we do have extreme heat warnings in place. There's an amber heat warning across parts of central and eastern England, and that's where we're probably going to see the highest temperatures today, because we are expecting to see temperatures reach 38 degrees. Now, that's as warm as we've been all year. 38 was the highest we saw back in June in that really hot and humid heat wave. We could see 38 today, maybe break the August record. That's 38.5. There's about a 20% chance we'll do that. Wales, for example, broke their August record yesterday. They got to 35.3. So we could see 38.5 today. It's going to be the peak of the heat today. Widely across the country, we've got temperatures into the low 30s. We've got a tropical night to follow tonight. We could, though, something else to watch out for today will be the risk of some thunderstorms being triggered across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. But in England and Wales, the story is the hot, dry weather continuing for at least the next few days, and then temperatures tailing off as we go into next week, but still pretty warm.
My goodness, that is very hot, isn't it? Well, the Royal College of Nurses has warned that nurses are collapsing at work due to the heat. They've described the conditions in hospitals as not fit for humans. So let's talk to Graham about this a little bit more. So this is the Royal College of Nursing, I should say, not nurses. What more have they said?
Yeah, I mean, you heard it there. We're about to get into a period of time where we're all in the 30s, pushing upwards, and ultimately that's the problem that the Royal College of Nursing is warning about. You're seeing wards which are upwards of 30 degrees, pushing into 36, 37, and nurses having to work in those conditions, some of them collapsing, some of them having to be treated by the very team they're meant to be working alongside. They've also had reported to them by nurses, so for example pregnant nurses, saying it was impacting their health. 2 nurses went to them who had pre-existing conditions, saying that they were having seizures due to excessive heat. There are also, of course, concerns for patients in that environment. The RCN is saying one of the main problems are the buildings, no aircon, or if there is, it's broken. The buildings are in a state of disrepair, or they've been poorly designed, or they're just very old, so the ventilation isn't very good. They're also saying they're having to choose between kind of winterproofing, so fixing leaks, that kind of thing, and summerproofing, where the insulation of the winterproofing then becomes a problem with a lack of ventilation. They're asking for action to fix those issues. The new Health and Social Care Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has said staff, she's reacted to this, she said staff do a remarkable job to respond to rising A&E attendances and ambulance call-outs, heat problems amongst the elderly and difficult working conditions. But she's also said that the NHS now needs to plan for summer pressures in the way we currently plan for winter pressures. I'm sure a few NHS bosses would say, look, we're trying, but ultimately there's no more money on the table. But as I said, she's very new in the post, so we'll see how she takes this challenge going forward. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Graham, thanks very much indeed. Do stay with us. We're going to bring you the latest growth figures for the economy in just a moment. Don't go away.
Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury.
I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul.
Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides and it's moving this way.
the best thing about being a Sky News journalist.
I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us?
Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office.
Here it is.
First off, just the scale of what we're looking at.
Our data shows it's been happening. Question is why it hasn't been stopped.
Time now to talk to the Tories. Shadow Minister for Policy Development, Neil O'Brien, joins me this morning. Hello to you, very good morning. Thousands of 18-year-olds are finding out their exam results today, including their A-levels and whether or not they've got into their university of choice. And I'm sure you'll join me wishing them the best of luck with all of that. Do you, though, think that our education system, as it currently is, sends out too strong a message that A-levels and university are symbols of success rather than other options? And do you agree with the government's message that we should be putting more focus on vocational qualifications and giving that parity?
Well, I do join you in congratulating everyone who's worked hard for their A-levels or their BTECs and getting their results today. But it is true that we do need to give people more good options rather than saying that university is the be-all and end-all. Now, you say, do we agree with the government? I'd say it's more the other way around. The government agree with us because we have a very clear plan as the Conservatives to actually sort this problem out, to give people the option of more good apprenticeships. So what we're saying is, let's end some of these debt-trap degrees which aren't working out for people, which end up with young people not earning very much, not being in jobs and with massive debts. And let's use that money, instead of using that scarce taxpayers' money to fund degrees that aren't really worthwhile, let's use it to do two things. Firstly, to reduce the really unfair interest rates that some graduates are paying, where their debts go up even as they work hard and pay back. And secondly, let's fund 100,000 extra high-quality apprenticeships for 18 to 21-year-olds. So you've got more of a choice, a really good high-quality higher education or good high-quality apprenticeship. Now, the government rhetorically say they agree with us, but they haven't done anything about it. They said that they would end these problems with unfair student loan interest, but they haven't done anything. They say they like vocational education, but they don't have our plan. They haven't backed our plan to actually grow apprenticeships. So, look, I agree rhetorically, and I hope that the Prime Minister will row in behind what we're saying. But at the moment, they're promising things and they're not doing them.
I want to come back to your debt trap degrees in a moment and find out a little bit more about what you mean by that. But let's talk about student loans, because obviously that is something that's a very big issue for those who are paying it back at the moment and people who are considering university as well. Lucy Powell, Education Secretary, has said it's very much at the top of my interest, she said. She's highlighted the repayment threshold and she's also said she'd looked at the interest rate, which she has called egregious. So in your view, is she looking at the right elements?
Well, the thing about this is that Keir Starmer said that these things were unfair. He admitted they were unfair, and then he didn't do anything. So I'm glad to hear that Lucy Powell thinks it's an important issue. But really, these unfair interest rates are the killer thing. When you talk to young people, particularly those who graduated between 2011 and 2022, they say, look, I'm paying back every month, I'm working hard, and yet my debts are going up because the interest rates are so far above inflation. I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel. I know someone who says, I don't look at my balance anymore because I know I'm working hard and it's not going down. It's so unfair. That is the thing that they should really be looking at rather than the repayment threshold, I think, as a priority. But look, it's time for the government to start matching their kind of rhetoric and promises with some actual action. We pressed them on this ages ago. They said they would fix it and then they didn't do anything. So let's hope Lucy Powell will be different.
Yeah, and we're talking really here about Plan 2 student loans, aren't we? That's students between 2012 and 2023, I think. Plan 2 was introduced by a Conservative government in 2012. Conservative governments have spent years operating and maintaining those rules as well as freezing the repayment threshold. So why didn't you fix the problem when you were in government, as you're criticising the current government for not doing?
Well, I'm absolutely open to criticism about creating these things in the first place. In fairness, we did fix the problem for all future students. So since 2023, all the new people who are getting there...
It's the Plan 2 that are really struggling, aren't they?
Just to finish the thought, all the people who are going off to university today, getting their A-level results today, they don't need to worry about this because we have fixed it for the future students. But you are right. It was a mistake. It was a mistake of ours. And we now need to go back and fix that mistake, to fix it for those older graduates who graduated, who went to university rather between 2011 and 2022. We have a clear plan to do that. We're saying how we would fund it. We want the government to match us, right? Rather than to argue about whose fault it was, these things happened under our watch. Let's fix the problem rather than just going on about it.
OK, if you reduce the interest rate, you're reducing the amount that graduates pay back. So who meets that cost? Taxpayers? Presumably it is taxpayers. And how would you pay for it?
No, it wouldn't be taxpayers. What we would do is this. We know from really high quality economic work by groups like the Institute for Fiscal Studies that there's a chunk of people who go to university for whom it turns out not to be worthwhile. It turns out to have been a way to get low earnings, low employment rates, to high debts, and a lot of those people who get put on these kind of debt trap degrees end up feeling really, really angry and that they have been misled, and they are right to feel misled. So what we're saying is we bring back number controls which existed between the end of the Second World War and 2015. We'd use that to control the numbers on some of these lower value courses, because there's ultimately limits how much taxpayers' money is out there, and we have a responsibility as adults and as politicians to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck. And so instead of spending money on university courses that don't help people and end up with lots of debt, we would use that money instead to do two things. Firstly, to reduce these unfair interest rates on Plan 2 loans, and secondly, to provide 100,000 extra high-quality apprenticeships every year for people who are 18 to 21. So you've got good choices. You've got either a choice of good quality university course or a good quality apprenticeship where you can earn and learn, rather than just to hit some artificial target, shoveling people onto courses which we can see aren't working out for them and lead to...
This is the point. We should be out of time, but I do need to ask you about what you've called debt trap degrees, and you've also talked about lower value courses. What do you mean by that? I mean, how do you decide what's not a good degree to do when they might appeal to lots of people?
Yeah, they might appeal to people. So what we would look at is the combination of the earnings rate of the people who have been on those courses, the employment rate of the people who've been on those courses, the satisfaction rate of the people who've been on those courses. And we'd use those kind of pieces of hard data rather than guesswork to see which courses are really not delivering good value for money, either for students or for taxpayers. And we'd use that money better on cutting student loan interest and providing really high quality apprenticeships. Because we shouldn't try and load all decision making onto 16 and 17-year-olds, where we as politicians can see there is clear evidence that things are not working out for people. We have a responsibility to offer them better choices rather than just try and hit some target by putting people onto courses which we can see from the data are not ultimately helping them.
OK, Neil O'Brien, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks.
Now, we're going to tell you a little bit about how the UK economies are going, because we've got some new figures in the last hour or so. Paul Kelso is here. Morning, Paul. These are GDP figures, aren't
Yes, this gross domestic product, a measure of how much the whole economy produces over time. And we've got the figures for June, which also give us 3 monthly figures for the second quarter of the year. And they're both positive. I think we can have a look at a chart to walk through some of the data. This is the monthly figure, so month on month. If we look at the right-hand side of the screen there, 0.3% was the growth in June, building on. It's a little fall in April, but growth there. If we look at how that measures out into the quarterly numbers, it essentially builds on. It's slightly lower than the quarter one figure, which is growth of 0.6%. We'll see it any moment now. We'll see that in the second quarter of the year, those 3 monthly numbers add up to growth of 0.4%. Still the monthly estimate.
That's the same thing.
That's the same one. Anyway, trust me that the numbers add up. So there is now. It was built on strong services growth, so 0.4%. It was in line with expectations. Services and production was slight, but construction, a little bit of a rebound there. There was some impact from the weather and the World Cup, which were positive for the alcohol industry, food and beverage. TV and advertising does well out of a World Cup, and the weather has been good for retailers, but a bit of a downward. There's some downward effect. It was bad for construction, right? It's really hard to work in extreme temperatures, and schools were closed. Why are schools in the GDP figures? Because we pay teachers. They're part of economic activities. It's something we forget. The public sector contributes here. Now, normally with quarterly figures, we'd hear from the Chancellor in person. I say normally. There's a a convention that happens. This hasn't happened this time, so we still haven't heard from John Healey. We do have a statement. He said, I know people are worried about the impact of the conflict in the Middle East on their cost of living, which has been too high for too long, and there's added pressure. He talks about being an active, hands-on government. We've seen the fastest growth in the G7 this year, but we now need to double down and drive growth in every postcode. Still not really much idea of what that will look like in practice. We have a new Chancellor who, to a degree, has a clean slate. I should say the old Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, responded much quicker than her predecessor, and she said in a post on social media, this growth was not inevitable. It shows the resilience of the British economy and action taken to deliver stability. So she wants a bit of credit for this.
Mindful of her legacy there.
Indeed. And while there's we didn't see the quarterly number, it's down to 0.4% from 0.6 in the first quarter. But given what was happening, you know, the American attacks on Iran, oil prices were through the roof, energy and other supplies have straight choked off, there is some resilience in the British economy, and that's borne out. So whatever happens John Healey decides to do, there's at least something of a foundation here as he looks forward to the second half of the year.
And we'll find out more in the budget at the end of October.
28th of October, a half-term budget, always popular with...
with
those who have children.
Correspondence, yeah, exactly. Thanks very much indeed. Thanks, Paul. Coming up, we're going to be showing you some of the best bits from yesterday's once-in-a-generation solar eclipse. The pictures are amazing. Coming up. Now, what started as an endeavour to research gynaecological neglect in medical systems has been turned into a new book. After speaking to women from across the world, author Evelyn Scott decided to reveal her long journey with endometriosis, a reproductive condition that affects 1 in 10 women, and is making an urgent call for empathy-led care. So she's here with me now, author of A Bloody Scandal. And thanks very much indeed for coming in. We really appreciate it. So, first of all, tell us about your own experience with endometriosis. You had a lot of pain, didn't you? That's what started the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I had my first period at 13 and I was very aware that my symptoms were very different to everybody else's. So I had excruciating pain, I was bleeding through my school uniform, I was throwing up, I was passing out, and I knew something wasn't quite right because all of my friends had periods that they could cope with. Mine was very different. And I used to go to the doctor and they would say, it's just a normal period. Every woman has them. You just need to put up with it and it will get better as you get older or when you have children, which we know is absolutely untrue. But it's been a real life-changing disease.
So how long did it take to get a diagnosis?
15 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and it was completely by chance that I ended up being admitted to hospital when there was an endometriosis specialist on call that night. I firmly believe that if he wasn't on call, I would still be trying to get a diagnosis now.
And what difference has a diagnosis made? Because there's not a straightforward solution, is there?
No, there isn't. And I think when I was diagnosed, I felt very vindicated because I knew something wasn't right. I thought it would be the beginning of treatment and I'd be feeling better. What I actually realised is that it's the beginning of another battle where you have to get the right treatment. So, in essence, it doesn't change an awful lot, but it's good for your confidence because you doubt yourself so much until you get a diagnosis. But it meant that I could then have surgeries which could remove the endometriosis in various ways.
And has that worked?
No, unfortunately. So I was having laparoscopic surgery every year and I was probably getting about 6 months relief and then my symptoms would come back with a vengeance and then I'd ended up having to be re-referred to gynae, which would mean sitting on another long waiting list and then having another surgery. And I was stuck in this sort of continual circle of surgery and I wanted a hysterectomy, basically, because I know a hysterectomy isn't a cure for endometriosis, but I realised I think it would have made me more comfortable because I wouldn't have had to deal with periods when my symptoms were really bad. So I had the hysterectomy last February. Sadly, it hasn't fixed my symptom, it hasn't cured me or anything like that. I still suffer from debilitating pain today, like many women.
And what has this whole experience taught you, apart from managing pain, which must be appalling to have to do so regularly, but what's it taught you about how people who have endometriosis and other similar conditions are treated?
I think it's... So I was doing a PhD, which I had to step away from because I was so unwell, and I actually used those research skills that I developed to look into this condition. And I realised that there are so many women out there that are being ignored, their pain is being dismissed. We're very much stuck in a narrative that to be female is to live in pain, you should just put up and shut up. There's a lot of medical misogyny out there. There's a lot of doctors out there who don't necessarily know about endometriosis. So it's taught me that the system is not designed to support women with conditions like these, which means there are a lot of women falling through the cracks and having to live with these horrendous symptoms that affect every part of their lives with no end in sight.
Is that just frontline, or do you think that the research isn't adequate enough into some of these conditions?
Absolutely not. I mean, there's so much money ploughed into a lot of medical conditions, which it should be, but endometriosis isn't well funded. There's a lot of research going on that's promising, but they can't get the money and the funding to be able to continue with that research to actually get any definitive results. So we need more money into research, into women's health conditions, but sadly, the governing bodies and the funding bodies, they're usually made up of men who don't have experience with these sort of symptoms. So they're naturally more inclined to put money towards conditions that affect both genders, which is hugely problematic.
And I have seen, certainly my feeds have been full of, I say full, but a larger proportion of messages than in the past of women with experience like yours of endometriosis, people in the public eye, talking quite openly about what they've been through. Will that make a difference, do you think?
I think it will, because it removes the element of shame around the condition. I mean, nobody really wanted to talk about periods 10 years ago, whereas it's great now to see social media, people talking about their periods. It just removes that element of being, you know, I'm embarrassed, I feel a bit dirty, I don't want to talk about it. And we need to talk about it, and men in particular need to talk about it, because statistically it will affect somebody that every man knows, and it's going to impact them in some way, especially if their partner has endometriosis, if their daughter has endometriosis. Everybody needs to know more about this condition, so we need to remove the shame.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking about it, and I hope you get some relief in some way.
Thank you.
In the future. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Now, the war in Sudan has entered its 4th year with no signs of abating. The Sudanese armed forces, backed by Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran and Qatar, are locked in conflict with the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, who are supported by the UAE, though I should say that the UAE denies that claim. Tens of thousands have been killed, with the real death toll unknown, but thought to be far higher. Our Africa correspondent, Yusra El-Bagir, travelled to El Obeid, where residents face power blackouts, food and water shortages, as well as a constant fear of drone attacks.
Fuel tankers and trucks bombed into blackened steel, all facing the same destination. These are signs of the suffocation survived by the city that sits at the end of this road.
This is the last stretch of road before we get to El Obeid, and there is a complete shift in the comfort level. We're seeing very few cars on the road, very few people, because even though this is a key supply route for the army, the RSF are known to operate a surveillance drone that patrols this territory and launches missiles at military vehicles, fuel tankers, and even trucks carrying aid.
El Obeid has overcome the longest ground siege of Sudan's war and evaded capture by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, fighting the military for territorial control. The RSF circle around the city has been halved by army advancements for now, but they still maintain positions to the west and the south and launch attacks from above. Their drones have come for this vital infrastructure, the power station transformers that supply El Obeid with electricity. But even in the darkness of power outages, babies are born, and doctors are committed to performing the operations that are needed.
Now, millions of Brits were enchanted by yesterday's stunning solar eclipse. Let's just show you some pictures from Newquay in Cornwall, which was one of the best parts of this country to see it, as 96% of the sun was covered by the moon last night. Amazing. I'm joined now by Professor Catherine Haymans, who is Astronomer Royal for Scotland. A very good morning to you. Thanks so much for chatting to us. Talk us through your experience of the solar eclipse. Where were you?
I was on Newquay Beach last night, thanks to your good colleague, Mark Austin. He invited me down to join him at Newquay Beach last night. And I mean, honestly, it was a contender for best day ever. And we just had the best time. The party atmosphere on Newquay Beach, everyone was there. And just it was so eerie, Anna, when the sky was going dark, which you can see in that time lapse there. I knew it was going to happen, but still, when it did, and it got cooler, and everyone kind of went quiet. It was so eerie, and it was just an absolutely spectacular event. And I felt so grateful to be in Newquay under the cloudless skies to be able to see the full 2 hours of this partial solar eclipse.
I know. How lucky was that? Because I do think that a certain number of people in some parts of the country did have cloud, didn't they? So they were very lucky in those areas. It was very sunny in London as well. They're not quite such a good proportion of the sun taken out by the moon. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about the atmosphere. I mean, I felt in London that the light, it got darker, but in a really different way. It was a sort of slightly eerie light, wasn't it? It had a different quality to it.
It felt so strange because it was like it was sort of the sun was setting, but the sun was still very high in our sky. The birds went quiet. Sort of nature responded to this change in the environment, and but then when the sun started coming back again, it brightened so quickly as well, and it really got me thinking about our ancestors, thousands of years ago, because eclipses have been happening ever since the solar system and the Earth and the Moon formed, and I just couldn't help thinking about our ancestors and the dread they must have felt when they saw the sun disappearing and it getting darker but it not being nighttime, and then the relief when it came back out again. And we didn't have a total partial eclipse in the UK. We were agonisingly close to that path of totality, but we saw the footage from Spain, Greenland, where there was this total eclipse, and the sky goes completely dark with a total eclipse, and you can see the stars in the night sky. So, I mean, if anyone, I've been chatting to lots of friends this morning, seen lots of gorgeous images that people took using their colanders to look at the projection of the sun on the floor, which is the safe way to do it if you didn't have eclipse glasses. But I'm also seeing a lot of chat about people getting ready for the next one. Everyone's decided that this was so cool, they want to see a total eclipse this time. And unfortunately, if you don't want to leave the United Kingdom, you better be quite young right now, because the next one in the United Kingdom is not until 2090, which is certainly beyond my time limit. So plans are already being made, Anna. The 2nd of August 2027 is the next total eclipse sort of in our part of the world. It goes over the south of Spain this time. The one yesterday went over the north of Spain. Cuts through Malaga, Gibraltar, heads down through Morocco, Egypt, Algeria. So if we can stand the 40°C heat, then I think it's worth preparing for that one in a year's time. Start saving.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you tempted to go? I don't know if you've experienced total eclipse before, but would that be in your calendar?
I think after yesterday, and I mean, anyone who was watching Sky News last night will have seen me absolutely losing my mind with excitement at a 96% eclipse. I think it's time for me as the Astronomer Royal to actually see a total eclipse. So plans are definitely being made now for the 2nd of August next year.
And obviously an incredible sight and an incredible sensation witnessing the changes around us. But there was a real sense of community as well, wasn't there, last night, wherever you were, I felt.
Yeah, so I had some eclipse glasses spare, and I was sort of giving them to people and saying, but look, you can't keep them on the shelf, you've got to pass them around, because, everyone wants to have a look. And that was really happening. People were passing those eclipse glasses out from one person to the next, so they could all have a look and share in that magical experience of seeing the moon just slowly drifting across the sun and blocking it out. And that moment of the total, or when we reached the peak of our partial solar eclipse, and you could just see that crescent arc of the sun. Oh, it was just spectacular watching it slowly change. So the arc moved from the left across to the right as the moon sort of skirted underneath the edge of the sun, and it was very special. And I'm so glad that so many people across the UK did get to see it. My friends in Scotland managed to see it through some holes in the patchy sky of the cloud cover. I heard cheers from Edinburgh when the clouds cleared on Carlton Hill. It was absolutely heaving up on Carlton Hill in Edinburgh, and just wonderful for everyone to be able to join in with this spectacular event.
Oh, I like those two people dancing while you were talking as well. Professor Catherine Haymans, lovely to chat to you this morning. I'm glad you had such a great time, and I think lots of people would have had a similar experience. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Anna. Have a great day.
And you. Oh, it's nice to talk about good news, isn't it? Let's take a look now at the weather.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News weather.
Well, it'll be even hotter today, but a northwesterly wind means that temperatures will be lower tomorrow. The Met Office has an amber warning for heat covering much of central England, running from 9 a.m. till midnight, while Ireland has yellow warnings for most eastern parts, valid until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Most places can expect plenty of sunshine this morning, but Ireland, Northern Ireland and northwestern Scotland will be cloudier, with a scattering of locally heavy and potentially thundery showers.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.
So a record number of 18-year-olds have been accepted into university. In a moment, I'll speak to Deputy Chief Regulator of Ofqual about today's A-level results.
This is how you travel when the mafia wants to kill you.
He's almost given up his own freedom, but that's the price he's willing to pay.
Here, they don't just arrest and Ndrangheta mafia members, they also live among them.
Time after time, I've seen the devastating impact of extreme weather and climate change.
We don't have much snow at the moment.
They've had a warm spring and exceptionally hot summer, and that means they're expecting to lose more than 3 times the amount of ice than they usually do.
Flames are still forcing people from their homes and leaving many questioning their futures.
Here was my life. We have nothing. I can't say anything, it's so sad.
This disaster is testing the resolve of everyone on this island.
The only way out now is by boat.
Everything you see is devastated, and the misery being felt by people living here is repeated in towns and villages across Central Europe.
Sky News, get the full story first.
Turkey is burying its dead. The loss is profound.
Whole families died in this collapse, generations wiped out.
The violence has penetrated the heart of the city rather than being contained to the estates around the edge, and that speaks to the level of anger being felt here. In Sweden, police have seized a lethal stash. This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
This is an example of an advert, really. Anyone of any age could say, I'll do that for £1 million, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
I bet right now you often find yourself asking why. Why was a certain decision taken? Why did something happen? Why did they say or do that? I'm Neil Patterson, and it's my job as a journalist to find out why. Just explain why.
It's a difficult one.
Well, I mean, it's massive.
It's a very, very severe situation. So if you want to make sense of this complicated world, Sky News' new podcast, This Is Why, is your daily fix. One story every day, and we can find out why together. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist. A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan had the right to respond.
You're like, what?
Historic day here today. Congratulations, this is a huge moment. But what happens now?
So students in England, Wales and Northern Ireland are receiving their A-level, T-level and B-Tech grades today. Ofqual, the examinations regulator, have told us that the proportion of A-level entries awarded top grades has risen for the 3rd year in a row. More than a quarter of UK entries were awarded an A or A-star grade. Math remains the most popular subject for the 13th year in a row, and the overall pass rate, the proportion of entries graded A-star to E, has remained at 97.5%. And we can speak now to the Deputy Chief Regulator of Ofqual, Michael Hanton, who joins me now. Very good morning to you. So what do you make of this year's results?
Well, good morning, and first of all, let me say congratulations to students up and down the country. I'm here in Chase Terrace Academy in Staffordshire, and it's just really wonderful to have the opportunity to meet with students. That's what it's all about, and to meet students getting results that are opening up their futures for them. If we have a look at results today, we've got a great set of results. So 840,000 A-levels, 220,000 vocational and technical qualifications that students are getting today. And the overall picture that we're seeing is one of stability. Results today are very stable. And what that means is these are results that students can really trust. These are high quality qualifications, they're demanding, and that standard has been maintained. So these are qualifications that will help students to progress in their lives.
Stability, but also we're saying, aren't we, the proportion of A-level entries awarded top grades has risen for the third year in a row. And when you hear that, you often get people questioning whether we're getting grade inflation. So reassure us that an A-star achieved today will be the same as previous years.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're seeing today in terms of top grades is a very small rise, something like 0.16 percentage point. This is a very small change. That's the kind of variation we see year on year. The most important thing is that the quality of work that students have needed to put in to achieve these qualifications, that remains consistent year on year. So absolutely, an A grade today, that counts exactly the same as an A grade last year, 5 years ago. These are demanding, high-quality qualifications that students can be really proud of.
We've heard from the new Education Secretary about the emphasis that this government wants to put on parity between A-levels and academic qualifications and vocational qualifications as well. Do you welcome that, and what role might Ofqual play in a new vocational qualification?
Yeah, absolutely. We welcome that. I've enjoyed talking to students here that are using both A-levels and vocational qualifications to progress off to university, making the next step in their own journeys. And that's exactly what it's about. It's having choice for students that is right for them and enables them to progress. What we've got today, let's remember, 20,000 students completing a T-level today, really high quality qualifications designed with employers, designed to help students either go straight into the workplace, they include an extended work placement, or into university. We're very supportive of the government's ambitions around high quality vocational routes. We're working right now on the introduction of V-levels. They'll be available for students from next year. And there'll be another great option for students to take to move forward in the way that's right for them.
Very, very briefly, could that mean fewer people go to university, and could that be a problem for universities?
Well, I think students got to choose the right route for them. You've got universities that offer a great option, really important. You've got apprenticeships, let's not forget that. That's another great choice for students as well.
OK, sorry to make you be so brief. We are running out of time. It's the end of the show, but we appreciate your time, Michael Hanson. Thank you. Gareth is up next.